Immortal Cultivation with the chip. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Falling into a Scheme. With a turn of his eyes, the stone monkey first selected Wang Yunwu and Wang Yinger. A gray-white ray shot out of his single eye, circled around them, and then he sucked it into his mouth, stretched out his tongue, and savored it carefully. The human smell is very strong, without the smell of dragon qi, evil qi, and demon qi that makes people want to vomit. You have passed. The stone monkey indicated that the two could enter the blood robe sect, but their identities were only the lowest warrior chores. Moreover, the core areas near the mountain gate, such as the Garoom, the market, and the tidal flats, were not places where Wang Yunwu and Wang Yinger could stay for long. In these places, the concentration of spiritual energy is relatively high. Mortals who do not have the talent for practicing qi will be in such a high-energy environment for a long time. Their bodies will decay under the influence of various spiritual factors, resulting in tragic consequences such as qi and blood decay, deformity, and short life. Only warriors at the 7th grade condensation realm can rely on their strong physique to mingle in the activity areas of inner and outer disciples for a long time, but living in places with high spiritual energy will also leave hidden injuries. From this perspective, practitioners are no longer the same species as mortals and warriors. The latter two do not even have the qualifications to approach the caves of high-level practitioners. Wang Yunwu and Wang Yinger are so physically weak that they can only stay in a gathering place for mortals outside the sect. It is an ancient city that has existed for almost as long as the Blood Robe sect. It is home to the families of warriors who work as servants, the Immortal Cultivation families established by inner and outer disciples after their retirement, and mortals who migrated from other places. It is a mixed crowd with a population of over 1 million. Walking on the street, you can occasionally encounter 3rd and 4th level Kigen practitioners. The younger generation in the city has a high probability of having the qualifications to practice because their ancestors, even their parents and grandfathers, were born in the Blood Robe sect. They are the main force of new blood when the Blood Robe sect recruits new members every year. Not only do they have a clean background within 3 generations, but they have also grown up listening to the stories of the demon sect's demons, and have a high sense of identity with the Blood Robe sect. Usually, the Blood Robe sect disciples who have plenty of money will also go to the city to have fun. The flower houses, taverns, and brothels run by mortals have also developed many special ways of playing specifically for Kigen practitioners, which will bring a touch of color to their boring practice and killing life. As an outer disciple, Chen Mo bought a small courtyard on the edge of the ancient city for less than a spiritual stone to accommodate Wang Yunwu and Wang Yinger. I have arranged a place for you two to stay in advance. Follow this mud puppet back to the mansion and don't run around. Old Wang will come to find you tonight. Chen Mo explained some taboos of the magic sect, pinched the magic formula with both hands, and chanted the gathering spell for a long time before condensing a pool of mud on the ground into a human-shaped puppet without facial features. The stone monkey opened his mouth and spit out a gray light at the mud puppet, making its limbs much more solid, and its steps no longer staggered, and it had the ability to go to the ancient city independently. Seeing the sweat on Chen Mo's forehead, the stone monkey smiled and said, "You have a useless earth meridian, but you can rely on the 3rd level of qi training to forcibly condense a mud and stone puppet. Not bad. It seems that you have developed spiritual consciousness, which greatly improves your control over the technique. Among the newly initiated disciples, your progress is among the fastest." Chen Mo did not expect that the stone monkey's eyesight was so sharp that he could see so much useful information from a small mud puppet technique. He was shocked and then said modestly, "Thank you for the compliment, senior. I am just an average talent. My current cultivation level is just because I meditate and practice qi more diligently on weekdays." The stone monkey smiled and saw that Chen Mo was the kind of person who made a fortune in silence. He did not point it out and turned back into his original mini-monkey appearance. He yawned and was about to leave. Ning Ranrun, who had been listening and had not dared to interrupt, became anxious. For a moment, she even forgot about the powerful cultivation of the stone monkey and blurted out, asking, "And me? As a new disciple, where should I go? Don't you care?" The stone monkey was about to jump into the deep crack in the ground left by the earth escape, when he heard Ning Ranrun's questioning without regard for hierarchy. The monkey's face stretched, and two sharp fangs appeared at the corners of his mouth. He sneered, "Did I say I would accept you as my disciple? Don't you look at your own identity? Being born into a bureaucratic family in the Qianitan Empire, this is your original sin, and this alone is enough to expel you from the list. If it weren't for your hatred for Qianitan Longting, I would have swallowed you alive for your ignorant words just now, which would have been a light punishment. The demon sect selects new blood, regardless of meat or vegetables, but people from the Qianitan Empire are not eligible, unless they are extremely talented or have a cultivator as a guarantor in a few special cases. You are a person with a useless earth spirit vein. Ask yourself, are you worthy?" The stone monkey, as a magical beast in the magical power period, only revealed a trace of fierceness, which made Ning Ranran feel a strong sense of suffocation, and crystal tears swirled in her eyes. Too lazy to talk nonsense, the stone monkey jumped into the crack in the ground and disappeared without a trace. On the spot, he only left a faint warning: "You only have two choices, either leave immediately, or go into the city with the two little guys surnamed Wang. After 3 days, if you still refuse to leave here, I will personally send you off." As the mainstay of the magic path, the Blood-Clothed sect has always been the most extreme in its stance against the Qianitan Empire. Even the admission standards regardless of origin and qualifications have changed when it comes to Qianitan people. Ning Ranran was rejected from the sect, as Chen Mo expected, and her heart was filled with the pleasure of success. "I will take 12 spirit stones and send you into the demon sect, but I can't guarantee that you can enter. Becoming an outer disciple is just your wishful thinking. This deal is fair and honest, and I believe you have nothing to say." Ning Ranran, penniless and desperate, fell into deep self-blame. She looked at Chen Mo fiercely, but she could do nothing about him. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. After enduring the blow, with her character, she also understood that she was tricked by Chen Mo. But she had to swallow this loss. Who told her to only see the opportunity to join the demon sect and not ask more questions to confirm when she reached a deal with Chen Mo? The opportunity to join the demon sect and become a Qigong practitioner was right in front of her, but Ning Ranran was wandering outside the door and couldn't enter, and her heart was full of unwillingness. He could only suppress the resentment in his chest and asked Chen Mo, who was most familiar with the rules of the Blood Robe sect, in a soft voice, "Mr. Chen, can I enter the city and become a warrior servant? Can I have the right skills and become a Qigong practitioner?" Chen Mo told the truth, but concealed the low pay of warrior servants. Although warrior servants are the lowest level of the sect, they can also accumulate spirit stones by completing tasks. In the Blood Robe sect, as long as you have spirit stones, you can do whatever you want, even asking Senior Stone Monkey to go to Kangzhou for you to avenge. In Chen Mo's view, Ning Ranran was like a moth caught in a spider web. The more she wanted to join the demon sect and the more she wanted to avenge her family, the deeper she would fall into the trap she set. When you enter the city, you will find that the tasks of earning spirit stones and serving the disciples of Qigong require at least the cultivation of a 7th grade Ningang warrior, and then you will know how difficult it is to accumulate spirit stones. Chen Mo sneered in his heart. He expected that Ning Ranran would be beaten by the astronomical number of spirit stones required to exchange for suitable exercises. After experiencing the snail's pace of practicing Yunmuju, Ning Ranran will eventually find that even if she does not eat or drink and practices hard day and night, with her insignificant qualifications, it is impossible for her to become a 3rd-level Qigong practitioner within 10 years. Chen Mo sat on the Diaoyute, waiting for Ning Ranran to recognize the cruel reality of cultivation is not easy and revenge is hopeless after entering the city, and finally obediently offer herself to become his pulse-washing substitute. Chapter 77 Celebrity? Everything was as expected. Ning Ranran finally chose to become a low-level warrior servant in the Blood Robe sect, first living in the ancient city where immortals and mortals live together, and then trying to practice Qi cultivation. The 12 spirit stones that were cheated away by Chen Mo by legal means could not be taken back, but Ning Ranran still had some jewelry and fine goods on her body. With a consumption level of the mortal class in the ancient city, it was more than enough to meet the needs of food, clothing, housing and transportation for 3 or 4 years. This woman has a strong temperament and a strong desire to avenge her parents. After 3 months of recognizing the reality, the probability of reaching a transaction with the host for a replacement of the meridians is 78%. Of course, there are also second-generation cultivators with a good family background in the ancient city. If Ning Ranran can catch a sucker, She doesn't have to look for Chen Mo anymore. But no one can say for sure about such things, and Chen Mo has no ability to stop it. If he is intercepted, he can only give up Ning Renren and switch to a very expensive meridian washing method. Do your best and leave the rest to fate. I have planted the seeds of hope in Ning Renren's heart. Whether it will bear rich fruits will be revealed in March. Staring at Ning Renren's stubborn back as she left, Chen Mo was thoughtful. A four-winged Yinling wing condensed on Chen Mo's back and flew back to the Gurum breeding farm that had not been taken care of for a long time. After possessing divine consciousness, Chen Mo's control over spiritual energy has greatly improved. He is no longer satisfied with the speed of the cloud flying technique and has chosen the more elegant Yinling wing technique. Under the meticulous perception of divine consciousness, each feather on the four wings was condensed by Chen Mo into hollow streamlined style, which is no different from the wings of a falcon. With a slight flap, it can move forward dozens of meters. This is the Yinling wing, improved by the chip simulating the structure of the wing of a falcon. In appearance, it is much thinner and slimmer than the ones used by ordinary Kigen practitioners. Although it was only a slight change in the feather structure, the length, width and thickness of the wings, Chen Mo felt a huge change after it was really performed. Although the constructed Yinling wing magic model is much more complicated, the consumption of Qi Yuan has been reduced by half. When flying, the air resistance is not strong, and there is not much Qi Yuan to maintain the Yinling wing from disintegrating. It can be maintained by the natural recovery speed of Chen Mo's Qi Yuan. Therefore, as a magic for long-distance travel, Yinling wing is very suitable, and it saves Chen Mo a lot of spiritual stones for purchasing flying boat talismans. Landing next to the stone door of the Gurum, Chen Mo felt the warmth of finally returning home. After more than a month of absence, the recyclable ecosystem of Jinan has made great progress. The Yinling mulberry trees are growing well, lush and green, and the treetops are connected, leaving a large area of shade. Under the tree, the ghost fire ants, about 1 meter long, some are chewing mulberry leaves, some are playing wrestling, and some are lying lazily, absorbing the essence of spiritual energy in the yin mud under them. As the unique breeding monster of the blood robe sect, the most prominent feature of the ghost fire ant is its rapid growth. In just 1 month, it has initially acquired the strength of the first level of Qi training. As cannon fodder that can be cultivated in large quantities, the blood robe sect will throw the ghost fire ant into the battlefield regardless of cost every time it goes to war, just like ordering countless outer disciples to fight. In each artificial fish pond, slender fierce fish jump out of the water from time to time, and the water flows and the water vapor is full. Wang Fengnian was not in the Gu room. I think he had finished feeding today, but he had a sound transmission talisman on him. Chen Mo sent a message to ask him to find his son and explain the follow-up arrangements, and then left him alone. After a rough look, Chen Mo found that the quantity and quality of the ghost fire ants had reached the estimated standards of the chip, so he had the idea of clearing the warehouse, recovering the investment funds, and turning to profit. It's just that money has always been attractive to people. We have to control the daily sales of the ghost fire ants, otherwise some of the inner disciples will even shamelessly rob them. Being in the demon sect, Chen Mo always keeps a vigilant mind and does not hesitate to speculate others with the greatest malice. Although private fighting is prohibited in the sect, outside, life and death are determined by fate and wealth is in the hands of God. It is possible that he will sell the ghost fire ants in the morning and make a lot of money, but when he goes out to perform the sect's mission in the afternoon, he will be killed by the jealous inner and outer disciples to take the spirit stones. With a divine consciousness, Chen Mo is confident that he is not inferior to any ordinary inner and outer disciples, even if they have been in the sect for more than 10 years. However, 2 fists cannot beat 4 hands. If he encounters multiple people chasing and intercepting, Chen Mo has no confidence of survival. Under the profit maximization and safety maximization plan of the chip, Chen Mo can only sell the ghost fire ants in batches to reduce the risk of exposing a large number of spirit stones. But the scale of the Gu room is here. If someone is interested, they will find that the breeding farm is long-term, profitable and laying golden goose. Alice, I can hide it for a day. If someone really wants to kill the goose to get the eggs, I will just chop him up. Chen Mo took out the consultation spirit plate and notified his fellow disciples one by one to come to the Gu room to pick up the ghost fire ants they had reserved in the order of paying the deposit. Although he was happy to get the spirit stone, Chen Mo felt like a child holding money in a busy city, and his heart was full of insecurity. However, the chip could not think of a better way, so Chen Mo could only take one step at a time. I can only speed up my cultivation and fight back against the robbers who came to my door. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo, who strives to make a fortune in silence, can only deal with the future crisis with a stupid method of burying his head in cultivation in the end, and his heart is full of helplessness. Hey, junior brother Chen, you're back. Why didn't you let me know? I'll book a table for you at the flower house in the ancient city tonight. Chen Mo's deep thoughts were interrupted by a lazy voice. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw a fat figure lying on his back with his legs spread out under a Yinling mulberry tree. Next to him was a round ghost fire ant, enjoying the shade under the tree in the same posture, with a mulberry leaf in its mouth, showing an anthropomorphic expression of satisfaction. So it's senior brother Joe, why did you change your resting place? As the dormitory manager of the Gurum, you don't look after the gate, but you are so carefree here. Are you worthy of the 10 sect contribution points given to you every year as a dormitory manager? Chen Mo had a stern face, as if he wanted to hold Zhou Fanggen accountable, because in his opinion, everything in the Gurum breeding farm was already his private property. If Zhou Fanggen, the gatekeeper, neglected his duties and allowed the scoundrels to sneak in, causing the loss of the ghost fire ants, Chen Mo would be so distressed that he would bleed. Zhou Fanggen heard the implicit blame from Chen Mo, but he had no shame at all. He waved his right hand and said absent-mindedly, don't worry, junior brother Chen, you are now a favorite in front of senior uncle Guxi. How could there be a blind fellow who dares to sneak into the Gu room to steal insects? After a pause, Zhou Fanggen said jokingly, as for the small group of people in the sect who have a strong background or strong strength, they don't give senior uncle Gu face and come here to rob and rob. Even if I, Zhou Fanggen, guard the stone gate, I can't stop them. Zhou Fanggen's final summary was a stroke of genius. So, the dorm manager of the Gurum, due to the special care of senior uncle Guxi, has become a popular position that does not do anything but can get contribution points every year for free. I am the favorite in front of senior uncle Guxi. Chen Mo was confused and couldn't figure out how he was related to the head of the Gu grass lineage, who is a notorious person in the world of immortal cultivation and even in the Kayanitan Empire. Could it be that when Guzai was snatching students from the island, he was attracted by my natural talent of the Yinzing 7 spiritual veins and wanted to teach me all he had learned in his life? Chen Mo couldn't help but have a glimmer of fantasy in his mind. It has been revised. Sorry, I sent it a little too hastily. Chapter 78 The Evil Spirit Gu That Must Be Raised. Young man, do you think you are gifted? The supernatural power monks in the sect are eager to accept you as a disciple to enhance the influence of their own Dao lineage. Zhou Fanggen saw the smug look on Chen Mo's face and knew what he was thinking. He ruthlessly shattered his self-satisfaction with a sarcastic tone. Eh? Chen Mo was embarrassed. He half opened his mouth and forgot how to use the second half of the sentence to cover up the embarrassment of self-satisfaction. Fortunately, he was wrapped tightly in a shroud and a gray robe on the outside. Even if his skin was blushing with shyness, outsiders could not detect it at all. Junior brother Chen, relax. Who didn't feel good about himself when he was young? Just like me, my senior brother, when I was 28 years old, I felt that I had a lot of capital and wanted to use it to bully whores. As a result, I was defeated in a real fight. After stretching, Zhou Fanggen felt sleepy again. Before closing his eyes, he threw a shadow talisman to Chen Mo, letting him explore the truth on his own. Light and shadow emerged, and a 12-year-old girl appeared in front of Chen Mo. The quality of this talisman was very good, so the image recorded in it was very clear. Chen Mo could even count the number of pigtails on the girl's head. The girl had a round face that was not stunning at first sight, but she was quite attractive, with a feeling of a beautiful girl from a small family. However, she was wearing a long-sleeved black dress that was common among female disciples of the demon sect. It was monotonous without a trace of color or accessories, which gave the girl a dull and cold temperament at a young age. The image began with a self-introduction. The girl's name was Lu Zhunner, and she was a newly registered disciple of Guzai, a high-level monk of the sect. She was ordered by her master to issue a death order to Chen Mo that could not be refused and must be completed. Cultivate a demon insect called the Evil Spirit Gu. If the Evil Spirit Gu could meet Guzai's psychological expectations, Chen Mo would be accepted as his disciple. If he failed, he would have to sell himself to pay off his debts. Of course, with Chen Mo's wealth, He might not be able to afford the loss, even if he sold the entire Gurum breeding farm. In short, if this succeeded, Chen Mo would have a big backer, and he could sell the ghost fire ants boldly in the Blood Robe sect. There would even be people who would line up to send spiritual stones and spiritual materials just to curry favor with this new disciple of the late-stage supernatural power cultivator. If this failed, the evil spirit Gu would be razed to death, and Chen Mo would not have to work hard for Gu's eye to pay off his debts, but could just commit suicide to apologize. In the demon sect, the will of the supernatural power cultivator was so overbearing to the lower-level disciples. Chen Mo had no background and could only obey his orders. The character analysis of Gu's eye has been completed. This demon has a weird temperament and acts crazy, but he is a model of keeping his promise. The rewards and punishments he promised for the tasks must be fulfilled and the debts must be repaid. It is recommended that the host do his best to feed the evil spirit Gu. The chip's analysis cut off Chen Mo's last bit of luck. He sighed and could only pin all his hopes on the chip. A major proof of Gu's eye's weird personality, accepting Lu's Henner as a registered disciple. The chip began to play back a video about the tragedy on the island, when Gu's eye robbed the students on the huge cross-sea ship. He also destroyed the Zeuxin family on the island, adding a meal for the ghost fire ants raised by his men. Although the victims were only some cats and dogs at the first, second, third and fourth levels of key training, there were Lu's Henner's blood relatives among them. Gu's eye even killed the ancestor of the Lu family who loved Lu's Henner the most since childhood but ran away alone when the disaster was imminent. I will destroy your whole family and then train you to practice Kigen. Are you expecting Lu's Henner to betray her master and ancestors when she grows up? Chen Mo complained in his heart. He couldn't help but sigh at the weirdness of this demon's behavior. It seemed that it was all based on his good or bad heart, without any regard for human ethics. No wonder Lu's Henner, who entered Guxi's sect, has changed so much. A good girl who was pampered by her elders, lost her innocence and vitality, and became the image that was lifeless and kept people away from her. After saying the last sentence, Lu's Henner's image was rippled and gradually disappeared. The image-keeping talisman that carried the information also burned out of thin air and turned into a wisp of green smoke. Chen Mo couldn't help but sigh at the extravagance of the Gukeo lineage. This is a top-grade communication talisman worth 10 low-level spirit stones. Use it once just to pass on such a short message. Isn't it better to find a warrior to pass the message and run errands, and save this image-keeping talisman? Chen Mo really couldn't have the mindset of such a rich dog cultivator. Even though the Gurum breeding farm started to make a profit, he was still as frugal as before, wishing to break a piece of spiritual stone into two halves. After watching the photo, Chen Mo also understood why Zhou Fanggu no longer looked at the stone door of the Gu room. The Gu grass lineage has a small population, and there are only 5 people including the lineage master Gu's eye. Lu's Henner had just been favored by Gu's eye, and her daily actions were naturally discovered by those who were interested. Therefore, she came to the Gu room to convey the will of the master, and Chen Mo's name was also spread among the inner and outer disciples of the blood-clothed sect in a small range. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. At least during the period of cultivating the evil spirit Gu, Chen Mo was considered a second-generation cultivator who was half protected by a cultivator in the supernatural power period. Naturally, no one dared to come to the Gu room to make trouble, and Chen Mo could sell the ghost fire ants in large quantities without worry. This red man is a hot potato. Chen Mo learned from the chip that the evil spirit Gu is not an ordinary flower or grass, but a precious spiritual plant that grows with evil spirits. It has extremely strict requirements for the growth environment. If you are not careful, it will wither and die. Suddenly, the main control copper plate of the Gu room vibrated. Chen Mo took it out and found that someone pushed open the outermost stone door. I thought that a fellow disciple couldn't wait to come to collect the ghost fire ants and settle the balance of the spiritual stone, but after a while, Chen Mo saw the black figure of Lu's Henner. She had a stern face as in the image, so that her naturally round face was abruptly stained with a hint of coldness, which extinguished the desire of others to talk to Lu's Henner. Is it senior brother Chen Mo who is here in person? I am here on the order of our master to hand over the evil spirit Gu and the contribution points that can be exchanged for cultivation resources. There are 2 copies of the image-keeping talisman. When the one in front of Chen Mo burned, the copy next to Lu's Henner must have given her the corresponding prompt, so she could rush over to hand over the task items immediately. Lu's Henner looked businesslike and did not say much. She took out a jade box full of icy air in a swift and decisive manner. Chen Mo took a quick glance and gasped, "What a big deal. The 1,000-year-cold jade has the dual effect of freezing the body and soul of living beings. It is often used to seal practitioners who are on their deathbeds. It can keep the person in the jade intact until the last moment of his life when his lifespan is exhausted. At a critical moment, a coffin made of 1,000-year-cold jade can be a life-saving item, especially for the helmsman of a force with a large number of loyal subordinates. It is a must-have item. If his subordinates can find the magic medicine that can bring back the dead in the future, and feed it to the dead at the moment of unsealing, the power of the medicine will not be reduced in the slightest, and it can save any dying person. Junior Sisters Henner, can you tell me why Uncle Guxi chose me?" Chen Mo took the jade box that sealed the evil spirit goo. The pitiful 2-digit number on the identity bronze plate, which symbolized the contribution points, also had a string of zeros at the end, indicating that Chen Mo could use a large amount of spiritual materials. This startup fund was really too generous. Chen Mo was nervous and wanted to pry some useful information from Luz Henner. Chapter 79 Evil Spirit Goo. In just over a month, you were able to bring this abandoned Gurum back to life? I think Master is impressed by your talent for breeding. Luz Henner's answer was quite logical. Excluding the talent of the Yin-Xing 7 spiritual veins, Chen Mo only had this breeding skill. Although the construction of the ecological circulation system of the base pond is very simple, involving only 4 kinds of creatures, namely, ghost fire ants, grass mudfish, yinling mulberry, and yin mud, this arrangement and combination was selected from the vast sea of spiritual plants, spiritual materials, monsters, and fierce beasts, and none of them can be changed. Without a rich enough knowledge background, it is impossible to think of this wonderful and harmonious construction plan, not to mention the concept of sustainable development reflected by the ecological circulation system. The demon sect has always been adhering to the 3-light policy of grab everything, burn everything, and kill everything, believing that all cultivation resources are top-grade leeks that can be cut this year and grow again next year. Chen Mo's breeding method is subversive and has greatly impacted the resource harvesting concept of the demon sect. However, it has been proven that the Gurum breeding farm consumes less resources and the quality of the ghost fire ants cultivated is not low. In terms of the quantity and quality of unit output, even the large ghost fire ant breeding farms funded by the public treasury of the blood-clothed sect are far inferior. As the head of the Gu grass lineage and the highest inspector of the sect's breeding farm, Gu Zai knows the market situation very well. It is not surprising that he discovered Chen Mo, a breeding genius. Brother Chen, once the cold jade box is opened, the evil spirit Gu will not survive for a few days. I hope you will be very careful when you start. Luz Henner kindly reminded him, and then handed over a stack of files. This is the daily record of Gu Zai's breeding of this evil spirit Gu. Chen Mo can learn some experience from failure. On the first day of the first lunar month, it was sunny. I fed the evil spirit Gu with a yin crystal, but it was picky and didn't want to eat. I was so angry that I used a magic catheter to crush the yin crystal into slag and introduced it into its body. On the 15th day of the first lunar month, it was cloudy. The evil spirit Gu seemed to have some indigestion and had his stomach turning upside down. I used a high-level rejuvenation talisman, but it still hasn't cured it. It's really a picky Gu. I'm angry. The evil spirit Gu is dying. All my investment has gone down the drain. What should I do? I need help urgently. I remembered that there was a junior named Chen Mo who is good at raising ghost fire ants. I decided to choose him. The more Chen Mo read the files, the more shocked he was. Gu Zai's breeding methods were brutal, with the style of those who obey me prosper, and those who disobey me perish. It would be strange if they could take good care of the precious evil spirit Gu. However, Chen Mo was full of confidence in the chip's ability to save the situation, thinking, as long as I have a breath left, I can save the evil spirit Gu, and it's just a matter of time before I can join the Gukeo lineage, and the days of following Guxi and enjoying the good life are not far away. I wish you all the best, brother. After all, neither of us are from the Xiangfang continent. If we can both join the Gukeo lineage, we can take care of each other. Before leaving, Luz Henner left such a sentence, and Chen Mo tasted a hint of self-pity. It seems that Luz Henner is not as beautiful as she seems. She is not living a happy life under Guxi. Luz Henner's last sentence was like a basin of cold water, instantly extinguishing the complacency that had just risen in Chen Mo's heart. He felt that it was not a good thing to cling to the thigh of a cultivator in the supernatural power period. Could it be that there is a feud among the same sect? Apart from Guzai, there are only 4 disciples in the Guxiao lineage. How can such a small group of people compete for cultivation resources and the favor of the master? Chen Mo was terrified by the mutual infighting among the disciples of the demon sect. He made up his mind to cultivate the evil spirit Gu well, and with the transcendent achievement of cultivating a little expert, he would join the Guxiao lineage, so that the senior brothers and sisters who entered the sect earlier would not dare to look down on him. The data collection is complete, the rescue plan for the evil spirit Gu has been formulated, and the data is being transmitted. As soon as Chen Mo closed his eyes, a large amount of data on cultivating the evil spirit Gu appeared in his mind. Seeing the 91% cultivation success rate, he couldn't help but smile with relief. Since the chip upgrade, Chen Mo's dizziness and swelling in the brain when transmitting data have been weakened a lot, and the user experience has been greatly optimized. Therefore, without any rest, Chen Mo rushed to the blood clothes building. Under the watch of a group of fellow disciples, in just 100 breaths, he had exchanged precious spiritual materials that filled 10 standard storage bags. When leaving the exchange hall, Chen Mo seemed to hear the sound of eyeballs shattering. Since Chen Mo usually keeps a low profile and hides all his evil spirit, what he shows is only the 3rd level key training that is common on the street. Therefore, countless people are attracted by his crazy purchases and have evil thoughts of killing and robbing. However, when they heard that he accepted the task assigned by Uncle Guxi and there was a possibility of being accepted as his disciple, they carefully put away their greed. Guxi's fierce power is shocking. Terrible. Shocking. Chen Mo felt the awe and flattery of the people around him, and felt that the tiger skin of Guxi Red Man was very useful. He deliberately opened a slit in the outer gray robe, revealing 10 storage bags hanging around his waist, and walked through the city. How can a person who has a lot of money and walks around in the night quietly making a fortune compare to the carefree and proud person who is rich and envied by others? The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo was quite satisfied with the expressions of his fellow disciples who were envious but did not dare to have any bad thoughts. The frustration of not daring to sell off the ghost fire ants before disappeared, and his mind was clear and he felt refreshed. Taking out the consultation spirit disc, Chen Mo wrote a line of big characters. There are still 30 ghost fire ants left from the first batch of carefully cultivated ghost fire ants in Gushi breeding farm. They are guaranteed to have the strength of the 3rd level of key training when they mature. The starting price for each one is 80 low-level spirit stones. Hurry up if you want to buy. The highest bidder wins. No bargaining. With the attention of Uncle Guxi, Chen Mo even had more confidence in making an offer. He directly overturned the estimated price of 50-70 low-level spirit stones a month ago. The premium of the celebrity effect was staggering. However, the fellow disciples who had already booked the ghost fire ants a month ago still bought them at the original price. As a businessman, Chen Mo still had the reputation of buying and leaving without raising the price. He believed that with Uncle Guxi's golden signboard of deterrence and publicity, the Gushi breeding farm would surely make a lot of money, and it could be called the Gathering Spirit Basin, a rare treasure that spewed spirit stones day and night in legend. Returning to the 12th stone chamber of the Gurum, Chen Mo gently swiped 10 storage bags, and a dazzling array of precious spiritual materials appeared in front of him. Of course, the empty storage bags in his hands had to be returned to the blood clothes building after use. After all, they were worth 10 mid-level spiritual stones in total. If they were generously given to disciples, the sect's public treasury would be emptied one day even if it was abundant. 20 cubic meters of yin mud, 10 yin crystals, 700-year-old dead spirit grasses, the essence of aged blood from a mass grave, a one-armed scorpion tail. Countless spiritual materials that Chen Mo had seen or had never heard of were placed on the floor of the stone chamber like worthless rags, emitting a large amount of spiritual energy. For a moment, the Qi Yuan in Chen Mo's body became much more active, and the Qi Si was dilated, as if he had the urge to absorb the yin spiritual energy. Placing different spiritual materials together will cause slight conflicts in medicinal properties, resulting in impure medicinal power when used. Please put them away in different categories. Chen Mo was used to being poor, and he poured out so many spiritual materials just to satisfy his curiosity and see how many resources he could get for 5-digit contribution points. This was like a beggar in the secular world who had a large amount of silver bills and wanted to count the money until his hands cramped. Chapter 80 Scientific Rescue Plan. Chen Mo felt the various spiritual factors in the stone chamber, revealing his foxtail that was lining his own pockets. To rescue the evil spirit goo, there is no need for so many spiritual materials. 35% of them can be saved. As long as Ning Ranran agrees to be my substitute for meridian washing, I can remove the waste spiritual veins of the earth and the waste spiritual veins of the fire. This is not considered corruption. How can it be considered corruption to solve the problem for the future Master Guzai? Chen Mo used the grant amount reasonably with his own intelligence and intelligence. While completing the task perfectly, he also gave himself a small benefit. This is the benefit of wisdom. Chen Mo was very happy and put a reasonable and legal shell on his corruption. After sorting out the spiritual materials needed for his meridian washing, Chen Mo took out a cold jade box and began to rescue the evil spirit goo. This is a thumb-sized black and gray ladybug with 7 sesame-sized black spots on its back, forming a distorted human face. The carapace was covered with traces of smoke and fire, and the evil spirit goo looked sick, which made Chen Mo sigh at the simple and crude cultivation method of Guzai. This little life that can improve the spirit should be held in the mouth and carefully cared for. How can it be treated so roughly? The evil spirit goo lay in the ice blue cold jade box, without the slightest movement, like a work of art in the ice of 10,000 years, and time has stopped on it. The evil spirit goo is an extremely precious spiritual material. Its life form is between a demon beast and a spiritual plant. It has no cultivation, but it has the effect of warming the soul. In the world of cultivation where the weak are preyed on by the strong, this is a model of self-destruction. Under the siege and hunting of countless practitioners, demon beasts, and alien races, the number of evil spirit goo has dropped sharply. It is now rare to see it once in 10 years. It is unknown where Guzai searched for it from. It's a pity that I can't enjoy such a treasure. Chen Mo drooled as he watched, wishing he could swallow the evil spirit goo on the spot to improve his spirit essence. To be honest, it was Guzai who was greedy and wanted to cultivate this evil spirit goo to maturity so that its soul-nourishing effect could be brought into full play. However, his skill was too poor and he raised it half to death. With the weak state of the evil spirit goo now, it can only play a role on key training practitioners. For Guzai, it is already a tasteless to eat, a pity to throw away chicken ribs, so he gave it to Chen Mo as a living goo doctor. Chen Mo moved the round cover on the cold jade box inch by inch, and felt a strong chill, which was far beyond the ice evil. If he hadn't wrapped his hands with key essence in time, Chen Mo might not be able to hold the palm-sized box cover firmly. The evil spirit goo was exposed. It was covered with a thin layer of frost all over its body, and its shell was slightly cracked, revealing 2 transparent and delicate wings. When Chen Mo completely opened the lid of the cold jade box, the overflowing cold air was instantly retracted into the box, and the frost on the evil spirit goo began to melt. Its long-sealed life breath was also sensed by Chen Mo's consciousness. However, the life breath of the evil spirit goo was like a small cluster of flames that were about to go out, swaying and flickering. Chen Mo had a hunch that as long as he pinched it lightly, he could end its life. According to the instructions of the chip, Chen Mo took out 7 pieces of yin crystals left after the evil spirit flew away. As a companion of the evil spirit, how could the evil spirit goo not be nourished by the essence of the evil spirit? However, Chen Mo's feeding method was much more delicate and gentle than Guzai. Using the yin fire technique, Chen Mo summoned a blazing fireball fueled by a high concentration of yin spiritual energy out of thin air, and let it devour 7 yin crystals. When the flames dissipated, a pool of bright silver transparent liquid floated in the void. It was the liquid yin crystal, and after being tempered by the yin fire, the impurities in it were removed, leaving only the pure essence of the soul. Condensing an arm of yin spirit energy, Chen Mo carefully took the evil spirit goo out of the cold jade box, immersed it in the yin crystal liquid, and then began to add various spiritual materials as condiments. 10 milligrams of yin mud, 3 tails of dead spirit petals, the 3rd segment of the one-armed scorpion tail from the scorpion needle, 15 drops of blood essence. The chip accurately reported the name and amount of each spiritual material. With the help of his divine sense, Chen Mo stepped on the correct time node and meticulously took them and put them into the yin crystal liquid, not a gram more or less. This kind of meticulous operation is not available even to the cultivators in the supernatural power period. Whether it is refining pills, refining tools or cultivating monster pets, practitioners only believe in their 7 senses: shape, sound, smell, taste, touch, ki, and spirit. Although there are corresponding pill recipes, tool spectra, and breeding notes for reference, when practicing, the amount of spiritual materials, the auxiliary techniques selected, and the control of the fire are all based on the careful observation of the first 5 senses and the instinctive reminders of the last 2 senses. Therefore, the skilled alchemists, weapon refiners, and cultivators all rely on a large amount of resources, such as waste pills, defective talismans, and deformed monsters. Empiricism and idealism are the only beliefs of practitioners. Especially for those with higher cultivation and stronger divine essence, they believe more in the mysterious divine sense. As long as they have a whim or an idea, no matter how absurd the idea is, they will put it into practice. Looking at the miserable appearance of the evil spirit Gu, you will know how Guxi manipulated it to death by relying solely on divine sense and intuition, ignoring logical facts. Believe in science. Scientific cultivation. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Scientific calculation. Chen Mo silently recited the formula, with no distractions. His hands were very steady, and every step was strictly carried out according to the instructions of the chip, completely ignoring the instinctive judgment of the practitioner's 7 senses. According to the chip's explanation, even for a heartless person who has cut off all emotions, his 7 senses will be disturbed by the outside world, such as the environment he is in, the fullness of his sea of qi, the state of his soul. There are too many influencing factors, which often lead to farces of self-deception. What you see is not necessarily the truth, and what you feel is not necessarily the truth. The most mysterious warning of the divine consciousness is a kind of intuitive superstition that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Therefore, when Chen Mo was operating, no matter what information the 7 senses conveyed, he automatically blocked it, and waited until the chip reported the operation is accurate, and the error value is only a reasonable threshold of 0.01%, he would proceed to the next step with confidence. Step by step, Chen Mo felt the recovery of the vitality of the evil spirit Gu with his naked eyes. Through the immersion method, the evil spirit Gu's absorption efficiency of the yin crystal liquid was greatly improved. The distorted human face composed of 7 black dots on the back seemed to come alive, and its mouth opened and closed, absorbing the essence of the yin crystal liquid. After half a cup of tea, the original bright silver luster disappeared, indicating that the evil spirit Gu had completely absorbed the energy in the yin crystal liquid. Chen Mo took a deep breath, shook his tired hands, and quietly waited for the evil spirit Gu to wake up while recovering his energy. This high-intensity, high-precision operation, even with the assistance of the chip's dynamic view, after completing it, Chen Mo also felt a double fatigue of the body and mind. No wonder ordinary practitioners believe in the 7 senses of intuition. This scientific method that cannot go wrong at any step is too boring and laborious. Even for a cultivator in the supernatural power period, it is difficult to achieve an accuracy rate of more than 90% without the assistance of a chip. After experiencing it personally, Chen Mo knew why the great illusion of trusting intuition and not hesitating in cultivation is so popular among technical people such as alchemists and refiners. It is really that scientific cultivation is too tiring. After a simple comparison between the two, Chen Mo understood the advantages and disadvantages of the chip's precise operation, and had the idea of building a set of quantitative instruments in his mind. If I had the help of tools, I wouldn't have to be so exhausted next time I was refining pills, refining tools, and saving Gu worms. It seems that after becoming his disciple, I need to ask Gu Zai for more startup funds and order a set of talismans for quantitative raw materials. The precision must be high, and don't be afraid to spend money. Chen Mo was still thinking about how to get the wool from Gu Zai, when the evil spirit Gu suddenly emitted a dazzling bright silver light, and the distorted human face on its back opened its mouth wider and wider, and actually spit out an evil spirit Gu the size of a soybean. Chapter 81, The Coming. Ling. The evil spirit Gu is a magical existence that is hermaphroditic and reproduces by fission. After being unsealed, the evil spirit Gu took the initiative to split into a juvenile child before reaching maturity in order to seek the continuation of life. An unexpected surprise. The self-rescue behavior of the evil spirit Gu actually gave Chen Mo to evil spirit Gu in his hands, and he immediately started to make plans. While hiding the child, cultivate the mother body into a mature body, hand it over to Guxi, the chip, analyze the feasibility of this matter, and design a cultivation plan. Ling. As long as there are sufficient resources, the probability of concealing the truth is 96%, And because the child body carries the mother body's hope of reproducing offspring, the genetic integrity is better than the blue. If it is cultivated properly, the host can get more evil spirit goo. Chen Mo was happy, but when he thought of the huge amount of resources needed to cultivate the evil spirit goo, he felt a pain in his heart. Even if there were chips to lower the cost, the precious spiritual material of the evil spirit goo was not something that a small key training disciple could handle. The most urgent thing is to eat the benefits first. Chen Mo shook his head and gave up the fantasy of eating the evil spirit goo as a snack. He hid the smaller evil spirit goo, tore up a real-time communication talisman, and established contact with Lu Zhen'er. The image of Lu Zhen'er appeared in the stone chamber. She had just finished her daily Qigong exercises. Her face was full of fatigue and her eyes were dim. However, in this way, the maturity and indifference she pretended to be on weekdays disappeared, and her round face made people feel close to her. This is what you should look like at this age. Isn't it good to be a pleasing girl? Do you have to put on a serious face that keeps people away all day long? Chen Mo had such an idea not because he had any improper thoughts about Lu Zhen'er, but because of his instincts as a liar. Facing a seemingly innocent little girl instead of a serious little nun with a stern face, Chen Mo could talk nonsense better and strive for more contribution points. It is not an easy task to fleece Guxi. At the very least, you have to deceive the junior sister who is acting as a mouthpiece first. Junior sister Lu, the evil spirit goo has been unsealed and has recovered a little vitality, but in order to accelerate it to maturity, it still needs a lot of nutrition. You can apply for some more from Uncle Goo. I don't want much, just 4-digit sect contribution points. In order to increase credibility, Chen Mo deliberately poked the evil spirit goo lying in the palm of his hand with his finger, forcing it to stretch its body. Lu Zhen'er's pupils shrank, surprised that Chen Mo pulled the evil spirit goo back from the brink of death in just half a day. This method of raising, training, and training insects is much more sophisticated than Guxi. His face became more serious. In the communication video, Lu Zhen'er leaned forward slightly, and at the same time signaled Chen Mo to bring the evil spirit goo closer to show it, and asked, "Brother Chen, can you let the evil spirit goo fly lower?" Chen Mo secretly scolded Lu Zhen'er for being nosy. It was not her sect contribution points that were being spent, so why was she so dedicated to inspecting the goods for Guzai? Fortunately, the mother body of the evil spirit goo that had just split and reproduced still had some strength to spare, and the concentration of yin spiritual energy in the stone chamber was also quite high, which was a suitable environment for its activities. As soon as Chen Mo withdrew his palm, the evil spirit goo opened its transparent thin wings and buzzed half-young in the air. Being able to fly means that the evil spirit goo has initially recovered its physiological ability. Brother Chen, I will report to the master now. If everything goes well, I will personally deliver the contribution points you need at noon tomorrow. The video disappeared, and Chen Mo breathed a sigh of relief, sighing that the seemingly cute Lu Zhen'er was not silly and cute. On the contrary, she was very careful and knew how to verify the recovery of the evil spirit goo by means of flight test. If it weren't for the chip's remarkable treatment plan, I wouldn't have been able to get past Lu Zhen'er. If Guzai suspected that I was cheating for contribution points, it would be much more difficult for me to apply for subsequent resources. Chen Mo also knew that his eating habits were a bit ugly. He had just exchanged a large amount of spiritual materials from the blood clothes building, and now he applied for money transfer. The continuous investment made it easy for people to wonder whether he was just curing the evil spirit goo. As long as we can hand over the mature evil spirit goo in the end, all speculations will be broken, and the innocent will be innocent. Chen Mo snorted coldly. With a scientific calculation of the chip, he believed that he could not only complete the task perfectly, but also steal to his satisfaction. When he thought of the contribution points that would be received later, and the evil spirit goo that belonged to him, Chen Mo felt a kind of pleasure of raising a baby with other people's money. Just wait for Lu Zhen'er to deliver the goods tomorrow. Sitting in the stone room filled with spiritual energy, Chen Mo was full of expectations. At the same time, many of Chen Mo's old acquaintances in the sect also planned to visit the goo room. Hu Byeguang went around all the stalls in the market on the beach, but he didn't see a suitable monster beast. He was depressed. The human-faced bat had the ability to fly long distances, which he liked very much, but he was short of money and couldn't afford the high price of a mid-level spirit stone. With a sigh, Hu Byeguang planned to practice the cloud flying technique again and use it to travel for the time being. However, when he passed a stall, He heard a shout of surprise. Have you heard? The Gushi breeding farm has shipped top-quality ghost fire ants, which are cheap and of good quality, with a unit price of less than 100 low-level spirit stones. Let's go together, let's go together. It is said that the insect breeder has won the favor of Uncle Guzai, and the quality of the ghost fire ants he breeds is absolutely guaranteed. Hu Byuguang stopped and was excited. Ghost fire ants can cross mountains and rivers and travel thousands of miles a day. They are also a good means of transportation. My cultivation is still low, so I can use it as a transitional monster. Gushi, I must buy one at the transaction site tomorrow. In the Sutra Pavilion in the belly of the mountain, Chu Zijin returned to the first-floor hall with a tired face and sighed at the difficulty of finding a satisfactory book in the vast collection of books. Looking at the book recommendation office of the Know-All with 3 consultation tokens, Chu Zijin was moved. The Know-Alls in the Sutra library are all old bookworms. I can learn from them how to improve my useless wood spirit veins by spending a low-level spirit stone. I still have to spend this amount of spirit stones, otherwise I will never find the book in the Sutra library by myself. Touching the 5 low-level spirit stones that he had finally accumulated in his arms, Chu Zijin gritted his teeth, mustered up his courage, and stepped towards the expensive consultation office. Suddenly, the number 3 consultation spirit disc in the most conspicuous position emitted a white light, revealing a line of eye-catching slogans, the first batch of ghost fire ants carefully cultivated by the Gurum breeding farm. The unusual movement of the consultation spirit disc attracted the attention of countless people. From the mountain of books in the Sutra library, many inner and outer disciples who were pale flipping through books emerged. They surrounded the book recommendation office of the Know-All like locusts and chattered. After a month, junior brother Chen finally came online. We can finally say goodbye to the miserable days of scanning books until the end of time. Alice, since Yu Chang's was squeezed dry by the witch Zan Hong Hong, junior brother Chen is the only one left among the Baxia Sheng who is still quite capable. What should we, the book lovers, do? Some people with bad tempers even pushed and argued over who should ask questions first. You bastard, you dare to cut in on senior brother's team. If you have the guts, go outside the sect and try. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Brother Chen, the number of places for daily puzzle solving is limited, and it is always first come first served. You, a stupid man, was not careful and left the empty seat. Who can you blame? You still dare to be stubborn? I'll beat you. Some people also thought of consulting on the spot and said, is anyone buying ghost fire ants in a group? I believe that brother Chen Mo will not mind answering a few small questions when the transaction is completed. Why queue up here and suffer this kind of bullshit? That's a good idea. Let's go together and let these poor people queue up forever. Chu Zijin looked at the enthusiasm of the queue and was so scared that she didn't dare to approach. If she bumped into any of her senior brothers and sisters, she would be the weak party who suffered with the bullying as she had just entered the first level of key training. Carefully hiding in the outer circle of the crowd, Chu Zijin suddenly heard the name Chen Mo. The slender figure of the second son of the Jingnan Marcus mansion appeared in her mind, but she couldn't remember his facial features. Chu Zijin was shocked to realize that in less than a year, she had forgotten many past events of Jinayan country. On a whim, Chu Zijin wanted to go to the Gurum to see the true face of this first 100-knower Chen Mo. After being in the blood robe sect for such a long time, she had not seen an old acquaintance from the subcontinent and had been alone all the time. Is it him? Chu Zijin's eyes were blurred and she muttered to herself. An exchange meeting held by the ancient city martial arts association, warriors and servants gathered in groups of 3 or 2, whispering about the recent situation of the Kigan masters and warriors. They all exuded the aura of at least the 7th grade condensed gang, and those who were in the 5th grade divine power realm were just the apprentices and descendants following them. There were mostly immortals in the ancient city, and those with the qualifications for cultivation were rare. Those who had achieved some success also entered the inner and outer gates of the blood robe sect, so there were still many martial arts practitioners, and martial arts halls appeared one after another, forming martial arts. Every martial arts exchange meeting is the easiest place for ordinary warriors to get news about Kigan practitioners. Ning Ranran listened in an inconspicuous corner and collected a lot of news about the blood robe sect. The more she listened, the paler her face became. Have you heard? Zhang Sanquan from the Huai Martial Arts Hall became a medicine man for an inner disciple in order to get a Ningang pill for his son. When he was carried back, he was so miserable, and his skin was festering. The Guo family in the east of the city is recruiting warriors with a cultivation level of 7th grade Ningang or above to guard the courtyard. The salary is 1 low-level spirit stone every 5 years. The Guo family has more than 10 clansmen with the status of inner and outer disciples in the blood robe sect. Are there any brothers going with you? Senior Chen Mo has half a foot in the 9th grade Shineman and found a psychedelic flower on the surface of the cave, but was seen by an inner disciple. Not only was the spirit material robbed, but his limbs were also crippled. Alice, warriors of my generation, without a Kigan practitioner as a backer, can't protect us even if we have spirit stones. Ning Ranran was holding the Imuju, the only thing that could be used to exchange for spirit stones or earth-attributed Kigan, but she didn't dare to take it out. First, she knew that no one among the warriors present could afford it, and second, once her wealth was exposed, she would be killed. Her hope of changing to another practice was shattered, and thinking of the snail-like pace of practicing the Imuju, Ning Ranran's heart was filled with bitterness. She couldn't help but think of Chen Mo's promise, if you agree to help me cleanse my meridians, in exchange, when I reach the stage of supernatural powers. Ning Ranran was torn between heaven and man, and the burning Fu Bohao mansion and Su Jin who died tragically in her arms emerged in her mind. Finally, she made up her mind, walked out of the exchange meeting, and walked towards the mansion that Chen Mo had bought for Wang Yunwu and Wang Yinger. This 3,000 words, it's late, sorry. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82, Old Friends. It was noon, and the sun was high in the sky. 100 meters underground in the Gurum, it was a completely different scene. The deep corridors led in all directions, and the only light source came from the fluorescent mosses that were unique to the cave world, growing tenaciously on the rock walls, gravel, and cracks. Different species of fluorescent mosses emitted different glimmers, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, all kinds of colors, and at a fixed frequency, they alternated between dark and bright, just like the breathing of ordinary people, depicting a colorful and vibrant underground picture. If you continue to go deeper underground along one of the forks, you can enter the real cave world, which is also the trial place frequented by the disciples of the Blood Robe sect. The Gurum, which had been unattended for several years, was now crowded with a huge crowd. In front of the 3-person high stone door that sealed the entire entrance to the Gurum, there was a long queue of nearly 100 people before the time came. Some were sincere buyers of the ghost fire ants, while others had heard about it and came to watch the excitement. The disciples who hated a dim environment underground even used the lighting technique to light up the entire corridor as if it were daytime. At the stone gate, Zhou Fanggen lazily lay on the back of the ghost fire ant, letting the fellow disciples who came here to admire him stand in line without opening the door to welcome them in. Feeling that the noise of the crowd was a bit harsh, Zhou Fanggen raised his drooping eyelids and shouted coldly, "Silence, senior brother, I still want to take a nap." A spiritual pressure belonging to the 6th level of key training spread out, and Zhou Fanggen's eyes seemed to flash with surprise. After a glance, no one dared to look at him. Zhou Fanggen has a spiritual consciousness, and using his eyesight to stimulate mental pressure is just a small skill used by the soul, but it is extremely intimidating to everyone present. The strength of the ghost fire ants is mostly below the 5th level of key training. The inner disciples who are inclined to buy them are not much higher in cultivation. With Zhou Fanggen's genuine inner disciple status, it is easy to suppress this group of outer disciples. In the Blood Robe sect, only disciples who have divine consciousness and are above the 6th level of key training can have the status of inner disciples. Only when you reach this step will the sect's top leaders pay attention to you, and you can have a glimmer of hope of advancing to the magical power stage. As for the outer disciples, they are just a large number of goo insects. The sect does not care and does not give them the benefit of a spiritual stone. This is a photostone, which records a fight between insects. While you are waiting, you can understand the quality of the ghost fire ants produced by the Gurum breeding farm. Zhou Fanggen tapped the photostone with his finger, and a clear image of the fight between insects appeared on the stone door. Chen Mo's castrated ghost fire ants easily defeated Yu Cheng's beloved insects. Although the image was illusory, the triumphant worm's swagger from the beginning to the end made the viewers feel a powerful force. Everyone whispered and exclaimed in low voices, subconsciously touching the spiritual stones in their arms, and looking forward to the ghost fire ants cultivated by Chen Mo. Boom, the tightly closed stone door finally opened. Chen Mo, who came out to greet them, was only wrapped in a gray robe. At first glance, he looked ordinary and said nothing. He waved his right hand and signaled everyone to file in and visit the base pond ecosystem. Needless to say, as soon as they stepped into the Gurum breeding farm, they were attracted by the vitality of this place and marveled at it. The green shade was continuous, the fish and water were in harmony, and the water was gurgling. Although they were underground, they felt that they had come to vibrant grassland pasture. If it weren't for the cold and gloomy yin spirit around them, the people present would even think they were trapped in a large illusion. My fellow disciples, I am Chen Mo, the owner of this place. Please select the ghost fire ants one by one according to the order of the team. Of course, those who bid the most will have the priority to buy. Chen Mo smiled slightly, and regardless of the audience's reaction, he led them to the first concentrated free-range area of ghost fire ants. The 5 ghost fire ants here have an average cultivation level of the 2nd level of key training, and are all in a growth period with rapid strength improvement. Conservatively estimated, when the first sexual characteristics mature, they will have at least the strength of a 4th-grade demon beast. Chen Mo condensed a yin qi whip and casually whipped the ghost fire ants. Their ferocity was aroused, and they let out a sharp hiss, showing their sharp mouth parts to all the fellow disciples. The ghost fire ants were restless, but with Chen Mo calming the place, they did not dare to explode. They stayed behind the stone railing honestly and only protested with hissing. As you can all see, the ghost fire ants I cultivated are very ferocious, their legs and shells are shiny, and their teeth are healthy. Those who want to buy them, please place your order as soon as possible. Chen Mo did not need to deliberately stir up the atmosphere on the scene, as a fellow disciple could not wait to jump out and opened his mouth to quote a premium of a mid-level spirit stone. Hey, there are still people who are worried that there are not enough insects to share with many people, and are willing to pay more to buy ghost fire ants. The marketing plan provided by the chip is really powerful. Chen Mo only used a priority purchase right to create a sense of competition among the coolers, and they forgot to unite to lower the price. This person who purchased first must be wealthy. Since he was determined to get the ghost fire ants, he didn't care about paying a few more low-level spirit stones. With joy in his heart, Chen Mo handed over the spirit stones in one hand and the insects in the other, and concluded the first transaction. At the end, he also gave 5 bags of selected feed for ghost fire ants for free, and promised to perform male insect castration surgery at any time, so that the first buyer left the gurum with a smile and satisfaction. The added value of after-sales service is one of the core competitiveness of small business operators in the marketing theory of chips, and Chen Mo will not miss it. With the first one, there will be the second one. One after another, the outer disciples rushed to turn into good leaks and handed over spiritual stones for Chen Mo to harvest. Soon, Chen Mo's storage bag swelled up significantly, and the ghost fire ants in the gurum were led away one by one. Most of the insects were still reluctant to leave this place, and they had to be beaten by Chen Mo before they could move. The song ended and the people dispersed. Liz Hunter, who had been watching coldly, finally waited for Chen Mo to take a break. She walked against the flow of people and came to Chen Mo. She bowed slightly and congratulated him lightly. Brother Chen's breeding farm has just opened. I didn't bring any gifts, so I can only say congratulations verbally. I hope you won't blame me. Liz Hunter still had a cold face that didn't allow strangers to enter. Even her words of congratulations were so insincere that Chen Mo wanted to pinch her cheeks to punish her. These are the 2,300 contribution points that Master has just given me. I hope you can make good use of them, but Master also said that this is the last grant. Liz Hunter, who was doing her job impartially, didn't want to stay any longer. After handing over the contribution points, she left without giving Chen Mo a chance to test Guzai's intentions. It seems that Guzai is not stupid and rich. He has set a psychological bottom line for himself by spending money on this evil spirit coup. Fortunately, with this contribution point, the resources to cultivate the offspring to maturity are enough. Chen Mo was also content. Guzai was indeed a thick thigh in the late stage of supernatural power. A leg hair pulled out casually was enough for him to eat for more than half a year. It is also a good thing to do a good job in raising insects and worship a cheap master. Recalling Guzai's life, there was no trace of abuse of apprentices. Chen Mo was relieved and determined to join the Gu grass lineage as soon as possible to enjoy the unique cultivation resources of this lineage. Brother Chen, is it really you? You are wearing a gray robe, I almost didn't recognize you. Hu Bierguang saw that many of the purchasers had dispersed, so he ran to recognize Chen Mo. His face was full of enthusiasm and kindness, without the reserve and arrogance of a person with the qualification of the 9 spiritual veins of the fire element. Chen Mo even heard a hint of hidden flattery in his words. Before coming here, Hu Bierguang had already found out that this fellow villager who was slightly inferior to him now had spirit stones in a background. Therefore, unlike his performance when he cooperated with Chen Mo to kill Ren Zhen last time, Hu Bierguang's attitude was very respectful now, and he only asked Chen Mo to sell him a ghost fire ant at a discount because of his previous help and friendship with his fellow villager. Brother Chen, can you sell me a ghost fire ant for 80 low-level spirit stones? I'm not picky, just anyone will do, I believe in your cultivation quality. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Hu Bierguang was shy, twisted his hands, and whispered his request. He was self-aware and quoted a base price, and did not dare to ask for unreasonable requirements such as the ghost fire ant's size, thick legs, and wide jaws. Chen Mo did not want to offend this talented fellow disciple, and when dealing with Zhao Chengjue and Ren Zhen, Hu Bierguang did some free labor, which was also considered to be a contribution. Although Hu Bierguang's selfless help was only to avenge his personal grudge, Chen Mo also owed him a favor. Today, it is not a bad idea to earn a little less and do Hu Bierguang a favor. Nodding, Chen Mo agreed. Brother Hu, you and I are both from the subcontinent, why are you so polite? For 80 low-level spirit stones, I will pick out the most promising ghost fire ants for you. Hu Bierguang did not know the true situation of the ghost fire ants. It was very simple for Chen Mo to make up a potential ghost fire ant, so this free and easy talk was quite beautiful, which touched Hu Bierguang. This ghost fire ant is congenitally deficient, and its lifespan is only 60% of its kind. Its comprehensive ranking is the last among the insects sold in this batch, and its potential is extremely low. Unexpectedly, among the last few ghost fire ants left, there is such an inferior product. Chen Mo has always been unwilling to suffer a loss, so he chose this one and handed it to Hu Bierguang, who offered too low a price. Although the lifespan is inferior, on the surface, this ghost fire ant is normal, and even looks more majestic than its kind. After Hu Bierguang got it, he thanked him profusely and wished to drink 300 cups with Chen Mo. Looking at Hu Bierguang's bouncing back as he left, Chen Mo revealed his true colors as a profiteer. Those who have no ability to look at insects are just pitiful. They are tricked by others, but they still think of others' kindness. Curious, Chu Zijin also came to the Gu room and witnessed everything that happened here. Colorful low-level spirit stones flowed into the storage bag on Chen Mo's waist like water. Previously, she had been at the end of the team, and her delicate body was blocked by the dense crowd. Every time she saw her fellow disciples lavishly spending nearly 100 low-level spirit stones, Chu Zijin, who only had less than 5 low-level spirit stones on her body, would feel a strong sense of envy. She thought that the operator of the Gu room here was just the same name as Chen Mo, but when Chu Zijin saw Hu Bierguang and heard the friendly conversation between the two, she recognized Chen Mo, who was from Jinan country like her. Covering her mouth in disbelief, Chu Zijin felt that Chen Mo in a gray robe was so unfamiliar. It was hard to imagine how Chen Mo, who was born in a remote subcontinent like herself, could create such a big business in just 1 year? Impossible, it's not him. Before entering the sect, Chen Mo had never seen a living Kigen practitioner. How could a mere mortal become so outstanding now? Among the outer disciples, even those from the second, third, fourth, and fifth generations of a family of immortal cultivators, the spiritual stone supply for 3 or 4 years combined is far less than the income he made from selling insects today. Chu Zijin's thoughts were mixed, and his heart was surging. He stared at Chen Mo intently. In fact, on the way across the ocean to the immortal sect, Chu Zijin always had a faint sense of superiority when facing Chen Mo in his heart. At the beginning, under the threat of force from Chen Dingman, Marquis of Jingnan, Chen Mo earned the opportunity to join the immortal sect, and even forced Chu Zijin to have a verbal marriage contract with him. However, the royal elder who died at the hands of Chen Dingman left Chu Zijin 2 sets of magic and Kigen manuals, which were not available to Chen Mo, who came from a mortal warrior family. Chu Zijin always believed that as long as he embarked on the immortal path, with his family background, He would be able to leave Chen Mo behind, and even return to Jinan to avenge the royal family. However, her own qualifications and the unique training method of the demon sect beat Chu Zijin, making her understand that with a useless spiritual vein, she is destined to be a low-level outer disciple for life. As for the classics left by the old man, they are even more useless. Similar things are placed everywhere in the Sutra Pavilion, and anyone can flip through a few pages. Chu Zijin has ideas. After realizing that he will never get ahead in this life by practicing on his own, he started to think about finding a direct descendant of a cultivation family as his personal wallet. However, in the cultivation families on the West Coast, only qualifications and cultivation are recognized, not blood ties. The direct descendants who have been cultivated, after spending some time with Chu Zijin, saw through her vixen nature of cheating spiritual stones. Gentlemen directly cut off contact with Chu Zijin, but there were also some who were attracted by her lovely appearance and had the crooked idea of pulling up their pants and denying their debts. If Chu Zijin had not been smart and got out early, he might have ended up with nothing. Seeing Chen Mo's comfortable life now, thinking about his own miserable situation, Chu Zijin's eyes turned red and he bit his lips without knowing it. For no reason, Chu Zijin's mind flashed with a marriage contract with Chen Mo. Use this as an excuse to get close to him, seduce him, control him, and take his resources for my own practice. This idea was so tempting that it grew wildly in Chu Zijin's heart like a weed. Although Chu Zijin had no good feelings for Chen Mo in the past, present, and future, for the sake of the practice resources in his hands, he still pretended to be a long-lost lover and stuck to Chen Mo. Damn. This woman is so pretentious. Her purpose of deceiving people for money and sex is obvious. I suggest that the host hold on to his wallet, tighten his belt, and tighten his sperm gate. Sorry, the author is a clumsy typer and types too slowly. The maximum speed per hour is only 1,500. I have to revise it later. I have been typing 6K every day for nearly a month, which has seriously affected my daytime work status. From now on, I can only type 4K every day, and the time will still be 2 of 6, 12, 15, 18, and 2100 hours. Chapter 83 Change of Heart. Chen Mo glanced at Chu Zijin, then looked away, with a mocking smile on his face. Now, Chen Mo's horizons are not limited to a small Jinan country, and even the subcontinent is not taken seriously by him. He has long let go of the worldly disturbances and the grievances between the Jingnan Marquisate and the royal family. Even Chu Zijin's so-called princess title cannot arouse Chen Mo's desire. Just ignore it. Chen Mo had made up his mind. Coincidentally, he caught a glimpse of Ning Ranran's figure from the corner of his eye, and he came up with a plan. This may be a good way to make Chu Zijin retreat. My lord, this Miss Ning said she has something important to do and wants to see you, so I took the initiative to bring her here. Wang Fengnian stepped forward to explain. He happened to return to the ancient city mansion to see his son and daughter-in-law. When he saw Ning Ranran, who took the initiative to come to the door, he took her back to the gu room. A pair of almond eyes revealed a sense of determination, willow eyebrows were slightly frowned, and the expression seemed to be uneasy. Chen Mo knew that Ning Ranran had agreed to the transaction conditions of the pulse-washing substitute, and the smile on his face became more and more brilliant. In a good mood, Chen Mo directly pushed Chu Zijin, who was sticking to the side, opened his hands forward, welcomed Ning Ranran's arrival, and said softly, "Miss Ning can think it through and lend a hand." I am honored. Chen Mo is not a person who does not understand romance. I will do my best to help you in the future. Slightly turning sideways, Chen Mo made a pleased gesture with his right hand, and led Ning Ranran to his exclusive number 12 stone chamber of type A. Chu Zijin, who was standing by, felt that she had flirted with a blind man. She was so angry that her pretty face turned pale and her slender body trembled. She asked Chen Mo in a deep voice, "Mr. Chen, what do you mean by this? Who is she? Don't forget that my family pay 10 spiritual stones for you to enter the immortal path. This is the tuition fee that my father robbed with his own ability. If you want to blame someone, blame the old Kigan practitioner in your family for not living up to his expectations. You and I will go our separate ways from now on." Chen Mo was too lazy to argue with Chu Zijin about the grievances between the two families in Jinan country. He stopped talking and said nothing more. Now, everything should be based on Kigan practice. According to the chip's prompt, the opposite sex who cannot bring value to Chen Mo in cultivation should naturally stay away. Chen Mo was too lazy to talk nonsense, and waved his hand without looking back, signaling Wang Fengnian to send him away, and said, "By the way, there are 5 ghost fire ants left. If the price is right, Lao Wang, you sell them for me. By the way, recruit some more people for the breeding farm. With the support of Uncle Guxi, we must expand the scale." Chen Mo's blatant disregard made Chu Zijin so angry that he gritted his teeth and bit his lips to bleed. He hated Ning Ranran, who followed Chen Mo step by step. He wanted to catch up, but Wang Fengnian's burly body blocked Chu Zijin. He was a 7th grade condensation warrior after all. The sharp martial arts aura leaked out, which made Chu Zijin, who only had the first level of key training but no practical experience, stop rationally. "Young lady, please go in." Wang Fengnian's face was calm. He raised his hand and motioned Chu Zijin to leave the gu room. He had been hanging around the bottom of the sect for most of his life and had seen many outer disciples. Chu Zijin was the most miserable. The material of the clothes is good, but it's a pity that they are old. The exquisite lace and patterns have been worn off. I think they have been worn for a long time. There is no storage bag hanging around the waist. It seems that there are not many spirit stones. The most important thing is that there is no evil spirit unique to the ruthless characters of the demon sect. At first glance, it is a new blood who only knows how to practice Qi but has no practical experience. Wang Fengnian has a sharp eye and can see through Chu Zijin's depth at a glance. He doesn't want to offend an outer disciple like her, but he doesn't have much fear. He looks calm and fair. "How dare you?" Chu Zijin had no place to vent his anger, but he couldn't get past Wang Fengnian. He could only watch Chen Mo and Ning Ranran walk away together. Finally, she recovered and thought of a way to stay. "Isn't the gu room short of people? How about me? After all, I am also a Qigong practitioner, and I can always help." Chen Mo had just formulated a plan to expand the breeding farm, one of which required the use of Qigong practitioners, and Wang Fengnian also thought of it. Chu Zijin took the initiative to speak up. He was going to recruit people anyway, so he couldn't refuse. He was just worried about Chen Mo's thoughts and hesitated. Chu Zijin saw the hesitation on Wang Fengnian's face, and came up with a plan. He revealed meaningfully, "Hu Buguang, just like Chen Mo, was born in the subcontinent, but Chen Mo and I are old friends. You, a warrior and an errand boy, are you determined to offend me?" Chu Zijin revealed that the friendship between the two was 70% true and 30% false, and the blank space made Wang Fengnian imagine. Unable to guess the true relationship between Chu Zijin and Chen Mo, Wang Fengnian could only do his job impartially and followed the topic of recruitment, reporting the corresponding requirements and rewards. Deep in the gu room, the master has recently allocated dozens of acres of land, which needs to be loosened, and a small part of the old soil underneath needs to be turned to the surface. There is no rigid requirement for cultivation. As long as it is completed within 1 month, the reward is 10 low-level spirit stones. Chen Mo's expansion plan is to reclaim more wasteland, build more fish ponds, plant more Yingling mulberry trees, and raise more ghost fire ants. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Deep in the gu room, there are many forks and underground caves. The concentration of yin spirit energy and soil quality are considered to be above average according to the analysis of the chip, and the ecological cycle model of the base pond can be replicated. Although the amount of yin mud under this planned wasteland is very small, the people who reclaim it must also have Qi Yuan and must be able to use the spiritual hoe. Otherwise, relying on brute force alone, the day of completion is far away. With the spiritual stones in his pocket, Chen Mo didn't want to do the physical work of reclaiming wasteland by himself. He could just spend a few spiritual stones to hire some fellow disciples, so he asked Wang Fengnian to recruit some people. Plowing the land and loosening the soil with a hoe. This kind of physical work with low pay and heavy workload can only be taken by new blood who have just joined the demon sect and have poor key training talent. If Chu Zijin's unreasonable intention to stay in the gu room is not considered, she meets the employment standards in all aspects. Wang Fengnian considered it carefully and agreed. He handed over the spiritual hoe and led Chu Zijin to the depths of the gu room. Deep underground, there was a faint dampness, which aggravated the cold feeling on the surface of the body. Chu Zijin went down to the gu room, feeling uncomfortable all over, cursing Chen Mo's strange habit of raising insects here. After embarking on the immortal path, Chu Zijin and Chen Mo had only met a few times, but she was always defeated every time, and she did not feel any respect from Chen Mo for her status as a princess of her homeland. This made Chu Zijin deeply doubt whether Chen Mo had gone wrong when practicing Qi, and Qi Yuan rushed into a sea of consciousness, causing his temperament to change drastically. In Jinan country, I have never heard that Chen Mo has a special liking for living in caves underground and raising insects. Chu Zijin thought a lot, trying to guess Chen Mo's mind. Although the Jinan royal family and the Jingnan Marquisate are not on good terms, her identity as a princess of her homeland is real, and their verbal engagement is also real. Even though she is now in the demon sect, all the secular things she once knew have become a thing of the past, but Chu Zijin believes that with her own means, starting from this old love, she can always arouse a trace of desire in Chen Mo and pry open his heart. When facing Chen Mo again, the gap between their cultivation and sect status is like a chasm. The only cards Chu Zijin can play are the title of Princess of the Homeland and her youthful beauty. If she wants to change her hopeless future as an immortal, she can only hold on to Chen Mo as a life-saving straw. Chapter 84, Changes in Mindset. Chen Mo led Ning Renren to the place of cultivation. He had never expected that Chu Zijin's inner drama was so rich. Of course, he didn't care about Chu Zijin's various thoughts at all. In Chen Mo's view, this Princess Jinan who nominally had a verbal marriage contract with him was just a passerby on the road of cultivation. It was useless for his cultivation, so he just ignored her. With the improvement of his cultivation, the broadening of his horizons, and perhaps the potential influence of the ice evil in the shroud, Chen Mo's human touch became weaker and weaker, and even had a tendency to develop into the way of heaven as ruthless. I'm afraid that now, only the news from Jinan country about the relatives of Jingnan Marcus Mansion can affect Chen Mo's mind. It's a pity that the subcontinent is thousands of miles away from the blood-clothes gate, and communication is inconvenient. If he specially asks someone to deliver a letter, the spiritual stones consumed are something Chen Mo can never afford. Therefore, Chen Mo plans to take the subcontinental enrollment task once every 3 years and return to Jinan. In fact, the Jingnan Marcus Mansion has become a distant and intangible hometown since the moment Chen Mo embarked on the immortal path. It is a desert of spiritual energy and a hell for practitioners. The higher Chen Mo's cultivation level, the further away he will be from his past. This is the price he must pay for choosing to practice. Therefore, in Chen Mo's simple interpersonal relationships, family affection has become a moon in the water and a flower in the mirror. The most important link now is the master-disciple relationship that is about to be concluded with Guzai. However, in Chen Mo's view, becoming Guzai's apprentice is just a transaction where both sides get what they need. Guzai needs an obedient disciple who is capable of cultivating demon insects for him, and Chen Mo, in order to better gain a foothold in the blood-clothes sect and obtain more cultivation resources, also needs to join the Gu grass lineage. There are many factions in the blood robe sect, and they all have certain cultivation resources and unique secret techniques that have never been recorded in the sutra library. They are divided into refining tools, refining elixirs, driving corpses, exorcising ghosts. There are so many branches, all of which are over 100. Some have been passed down for nearly 1,000 years, while others have just been established and are less than 60 years old. From this, we can see the complexity of the relationship between the top leaders of the sect. Looking at the supernatural power cultivators in the sect, all of them come from a branch, or serve as the master of a branch. To make an image, becoming an inner disciple means there is a glimpse of hope to advance to the supernatural power stage, and becoming a direct descendant of a branch will get the sect's resources tilted. Listen to the exclusive cultivation experience of the supernatural power master, and be considered to have touched the threshold of the supernatural power stage. Therefore, those who worship a branch are also called true disciples, and can walk outside with the name of direct descendant of the blood robe sect, and are considered the elite reserve force of the sect. The Gu grass lineage is not prosperous, but due to the powerful cultivation of the lineage master Guzai, a large part of the sect resources was allocated. Chen Mo joined it and there were many benefits. But even so, Chen Mo would not have the idea of once a teacher, always a father. What's more, in the blood-clothed sect, there are also people who have dominated the previous lineage master and become the master of their own house and betrayed their teachers and ancestors. The so-called respecting teachers and respecting morality is just a joke in the demon sect where the weak are preyed upon by the strong. Chen Mo's character has become so cold and indifferent. It must be said that the training method of the blood-clothed sect has played a big role, but this is also the helplessness of the practitioners. The higher the cultivation level, the longer the lifespan, and they will experience the death and separation of relatives and friends again and again. The more times, the so-called heartache and heartbeat will not be so strong. If the inner emotions are really so rich and the mind is so fragile, the repeated disasters of the inner demon will also make such human practitioners die, or have to cut off the worldly love with their thoughts. This change in mentality, like the improvement of cultivation, is not achieved overnight. It takes a process. However, in the demon sect, this transformation process is accelerated by the cultivation atmosphere of the strong prey on the weak, and interests come first. It is okay for the inner and outer disciples in the key training period. There are still many people who have 7 emotions and 6 desires. But if you look at the high-level cultivators in the supernatural power period, especially those who have lived for hundreds of years, you can know what the way of heaven is ruthless. In this regard, the righteous path and the demon sect are very similar. With the improvement of cultivation, secular emotions such as the friendship between master and apprentice and the affection of blood will always gradually fade, but the latter has an additional label of extreme behavior and ruthless means. To make an image comparison, in the righteous path, the means of deceiving the master and destroying the ancestors will be milder, unlike the disciples of the demon sect who will take action directly. People in the righteous path pay attention to a legitimate name, and will slowly outlast the second brother, the eldest brother, the master's ancestor, who are in front of them, until they become the master of the house and enjoy all the skills and resources. Chen Mo was walking away on the single plank bridge of senior demon cub. Chu Zijin, a mere beauty, turned into a skeleton in the blink of an eye. No matter how charming she was, she could not shake his ruthless and desireless demon heart. Ning Ranrun, who followed Chen Mo carefully without saying a word or making any teasing moves, was a smart woman who saw through this key point. Equal exchange, strictly abide by Chen Mo's transaction conditions, and do not ask for more. Ning Ranrun had already prepared herself mentally before coming to the Gu room. Previously, by the Kangling Lake, Ning Ranrun tried to use the displaced and weak woman of the Marcus to arouse Chen Mo's desire for protection and compassion. After being rejected by him, she gave up the naive idea of influencing Chen Mo with her love. In fact, as a person who had experienced it, Ning Ranrun saw through Chu Zijin's affectation at a glance and knew that it was useless. However, since she had no relationship with Chu Zijin, she did not speak up and let Chen Mo arrange it without saying a word or asking a question. Ning Ranrun saw Chu Zijin's complicated eyes and sighed that she was another naive woman with bad intentions who lacked Chen Mo's ruthless rejection. Arriving at the stone chamber, Chen Mo began to prepare the spiritual materials needed for the pulse washing ceremony. In order to ensure Ning Ranrun's willingness, he stared at her eyes with burning eyes and asked for the last time, "Miss Ning, are you sure you are 100% willing to be my pulse washing substitute? If you have the slightest regret when the pulse washing secret technique is performed, the consumption of spiritual materials is secondary, causing my sea of qi to be damaged. This consequence, I think, is something you cannot bear." Ning Ranrun could feel the chill in Chen Mo's words, and could also imagine the bleak future after the pulse washing, where her cultivation would be difficult to improve, but she also understood that she could not avenge the blood feud of Fu Bohao Mansion by herself, even if she spent her whole life. The latest novel is first published on Liu Nine Shuba. With her head lowered, Ning Ranrun held back her tears and said word by word, "I, Ning Ran, am willing to do this." These words drained all the strength from Ning Ranrun's body. Her slender figure collapsed to the ground like a boneless snake, but the determination in her eyes was conveyed to Chen Mo intact. Ling Ranrun's words were firm and her expression was resolute. Her sincerity had reached the standard for performing the secret art of meridian washing and substitution. It is recommended that the host sincerely swear an oath to calm her mind and increase the success rate of meridian washing. This meridian washing technique is essentially to transfer one's own mixed spiritual veins to others. Ning Ranrun is a meridian washing substitute. Her resistance or obedience is directly related to the effect of the technique. Chen Mo did not intend to play with Ning Ranrun's feelings. He took off the gray robe, spread the shroud, revealing his face, looked into her eyes, and said seriously, "After becoming a cultivator in the supernatural power period, I will take off Yan Qingyi's head and avenge your blood feud. If you violate this oath, your Tao heart will sink, your heart demon will invade, and you will never recover." Although it was only a verbal oath, Chen Mo's consciousness was touched when the voice dissipated. He felt that he seemed to have established a connection with a hidden existence. His intuition told him that the consequences of breaking this oath were not unbearable, but when he thought of taking advantage of the situation and refusing to admit it, His heart was shrouded in a haze and he felt a little uneasy. The chip analysis was normal, but Chen Mo knew that this was not an empty promise without any binding force. To have divine consciousness means to open up divine sense, and the soul is no longer muddled. There are some things that cannot be said casually, otherwise, when the inner demon invades, you will have to pay it back with interest. The scientific test showed no abnormalities, but the chip made a bold guess. The people of the demon sect who do not keep their promises are more likely to lose control of their minds than ordinary people. It is very likely that they lack self-identity and have cognitive disorder, which is a serious mental illness. The idea of inner demon is unfounded. The corresponding records about inner demon in the sutra library are often contradictory in logic. It is recommended that the host do not believe in such idealistic words, but believe in the chip's materialistic scientific analysis. Chen Mo was inexplicably criticized and educated by the chip, and had no intention of refutation. He focused his mind and let Ning Ranran stand in the center of the meridian cleansing formation. Chapter 85, Pulse Cleansing. Chen Mo no longer used the gray robe and shroud to hide his true appearance. In the small and dim stone room, the two looked at each other frankly. Ning Ranran rubbed her eyes suspiciously and covered her mouth in disbelief, so she didn't scream out. Ever since she met Chen Mo, he has always been a shrewd old devil who is ruthless and will not do anything without profit. Now, he has a young and even a mature face. The contrast makes Ning Ranran feel like she is living in a dream. Why, are you surprised? Do you suspect that I have been possessed by a 1,000-year-old monster? It was a rare cold joke that was not funny at all. Chen Mo forced a smile and did not urge Ning Ranran to stand in the center of the meridian washing formation quickly. Taking a deep breath, Ning Ranran recovered from her surprise. She did not feel any regret for agreeing to the meridian cleansing substitute because of Chen Mo's young appearance. She spoke clearly and slowly, "Mr. Chen, since I have chosen you, I will never regret it for the rest of my life. If it is difficult to avenge my great hatred in this lifetime, I will accept it." Chen Mo's confident answer reassured her, and she stood calmly in the center of the meridian cleansing formation. "With your help, the 9 yin spirit veins have been forged. If I can't advance to the divine power stage in one go, no one in the blood robe sect will be able to break through successfully. And with the cultivation level of the divine power stage, unless Yan Qingyi stays by the side of Qiannian human emperor for his entire life, it will be easy for me to kill him." The transaction conditions promised by Chen Mo were not something he came up with on the spur of the moment. He was nearly 100% sure of fulfilling his promise. As the vassal king guarding Kangzhou on the border, Yan Qingyi was not allowed to return to the capital of Qiannian without any reason. As long as Chen Mo advanced to the magical power stage, he could sneak in and take his head and return with a high probability, not to mention that after he became the core of the Gukeo lineage, he could mobilize the power of the sect. Moreover, Kangzhou was not the main battlefield of the battle between the Xianmen and the Qiannian Empire. Yan Qingyi's protection power was limited. If he wanted to kill him, he could do it alone with more effort. "Okay, now focus your mind and don't think about it. I'll take care of the meridian washing." The spiritual factors in the stone chamber environment except the earth spiritual factor have been almost eliminated. When the time was right, Chen Mo activated the meridian washing formation. With Ning Ranran as the center, the earth spiritual energy that permeated the entire stone chamber rushed to her body. The concentration was so high that it even condensed a layer of rock clothing with rich texture. Ning Ranran felt such a rich earth spirit for the first time. She didn't even need to concentrate to capture it. It went into her sea of qi. Out of the instinct of a practitioner, the hidden earth spirit vein in her body began to absorb the free earth spirit. A vague shadow of a yellowish earth spirit vein appeared on her back. 342 low-level earth spirit stones have burned out, forcibly stimulating Ning Ranran's hidden earth spirit vein with a manifestation degree of 65.8%. Simulating the externalization state of the spirit vein, and the prerequisite for the substitute vein washing secret technique has been met. Under Ning Ranran's feet, the yellowish earth spirit stones had dimmed and turned gray. With a light touch, they turned into fine dust and disappeared without a trace. Even the substitute vein washing secret technique with a very high cost effectiveness consumed a lot of spirit stones, and the number requirement was even more precise. The chip calculated repeatedly to get the number of 342 earth spirit stones that best matched the 65.8% manifestation rate. The scientific explanation is that the two are added together to get 100% perfection, so as to stimulate the hidden earth spirit veins in Ningranrun. Ningranrun, who is located in the center of the formation, is in such a suitable environment for practicing Qi. Even without the corresponding earth attribute exercises, a trace of pale yellow Qi Yuan begins to condense in the Qi Sea. However, because Ningranrun's spiritual veins are too poor, the conversion rate of free spiritual factors is extremely low. Even after an instant of time, she has not completed the entire stage of awakening the spirit and building the foundation. Feeling the pitiful speed of Qi Yuan transformation and condensation, Ningranrun's last thought of revenge on her own was extinguished. She also recognized a pile of low-level earth spirit stones that turned into ashes under her feet, and knew how much Chen Mo spent to create this environment full of earth spirit. With such a superior environment, if it were someone else, I'm afraid they would have broken through to the first level of Qi training. Ningranrun sighed in disappointment, no longer asking for anything else, and calmly waited for the moment of meridian washing. The chip sensed Ningranrun's sincerity in acting as a substitute for meridian washing, and gave timely feedback. Chen Mo no longer hesitated, and suppressed the 7 yin-attributed spiritual veins in his body with great willpower, and began to stimulate the Qi Yuan, making them dyed with the earth yellow light representing the earth attribute. There was no need to consider the useless spiritual vein of the fire element. It gave Chen Mo an affinity for fire aura, and in the stone chamber full of earth aura, it was impossible to manifest the Qi Yuan into fire attribute. The more spiritual veins there were, the more attributes the Qi Yuan could transform, but the speed of this transformation was limited by the degree of manifestation of the spiritual veins. It took a full 100 breaths for Chen Mo to absorb enough earth aura to dye all the Qi Yuan in the sea of Qi into earth yellow. At this moment, Chen Mo's yin-attributed 7 spiritual veins were suppressed to the extreme, and the cold aura on his body was greatly restrained, and the whole person exuded a calm and reliable temperament. Manipulating the talisman on his body, Chen Mo felt an obvious difference. The shroud that was refined with evil spirit became much stiffer than before, like a thin snake being held by 7 inches, and the speed of waving it around was much slower. On the other hand, the backer tortoise shell was easy to manipulate, and its power increased greatly. It swelled up in the wind and turned into a huge earth yellow barrier, completely covering himself and Ningranrun. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. As Chen Mo continued to perform earth-based magic and activate the backer tortoise shell, the outline of the earth-based spiritual veins appeared faintly on his back. But he was ultimately a useless earth spirit vein, and the condensed phantom was blurry and dim. If it weren't for the high concentration of earth spirit energy supporting it, this semi-finished spirit vein phantom would collapse in the next second. Warm-up is complete, and we can proceed to the next step, resonance of the hidden earth spirit vein. Reminded by the chip, Chen Mo used a breath of Qi to stimulate the last spell buried in the vein washing formation. A mid-level earth spirit stone, which was the center of the formation, emitted a yellow light, and a rich earth spirit energy entangled the earth spirit vein phantom behind Ningranrun. Forced into the rich earth spirit energy, Ningranrun's earth spirit vein phantom began to vibrate, and the invisible ripples gradually spread to the entire closed stone chamber space. The large amount of earth spirit energy factors that permeated everywhere also began to vibrate at the same frequency. Wave after wave of vibrations that were invisible to the naked eye were transmitted all the way to Chen Mo. Since the manifestation degree of their hidden earth spirit veins was very similar, with only less than 1% floating difference, the vibration frequency from Ningranrun's earth spirit veins was very compatible with Chen Mo's body. After a moment, the shadow of the earth spirit veins behind him began to vibrate at the same frequency. Chen Mo's cultivation was higher, and he could still move freely even if the spiritual energy was infused into his body. However, Ningranrun, like a person drunk on oxygen, was already top-heavy under the nourishment of earth spirit energy, and sat down on the ground. Chen Mo approached Ningranrun step by step, and the shadow of the earth spirit veins on his back, under the urging of his spiritual consciousness, had the momentum to burst out of the body. With a blurred vision, Ningranrun vaguely felt a body emitting heat coming up. Because of the steady and reliable aura faintly emanating from him, Ningranrun subconsciously took the initiative to stick to him. Chapter 86, Unfinished Business. Chen Mo's consciousness was much clearer. He did not have any extravagant thoughts because of this beautiful scene. He calmly constructed a special model of the vein washing ceremony according to the instructions of the chip. The shadow of the earth spirit vein behind Chen Mo stretched out thick tree root-like tentacles and accurately inserted them into the shadow of the earth spirit vein behind Ning Ranran. The sound of gurgling water sounded in the quiet stone chamber. The visible protrusions, along these earthy yellow tentacles, gradually merged from Chen Mo to the shadow of the earth spirit vein on Ning Ranran's back. Even though she was unconscious, the instinct of life was telling Ning Ranran that her already unbearable hidden earth spirit vein qualification had been tainted by foreign objects and became even more complicated, and the speed of condensing Qi Yuan in the Qi Si was rapidly slowing down. The resistance in the subconscious mind was manifested externally, that is, Ning Ranran, as the receiving end, slowed down the speed of receiving Chen Mo's earth spirit vein, and even the tentacle channel between the two began to tremble. The chip reminded Ling. The stripping speed of the host's earth waste spirit vein is decreasing at a rate of 4%, and the current stripping degree is 45%. Chen Mo was a little anxious. This tentacle channel was formed by the same frequency resonance of the two hidden waste spirit veins. If the manifestation degree of his psi dropped significantly with the stripping of the spirit vein, and the difference in the similarity of the two manifestations was too large, the tentacle channel would naturally collapse. Therefore, only by being quick, accurate and ruthless, and completing the stripping of the spirit vein qualifications in a short time, can the success of the vein washing be ensured. It depends on how sincere you are. The arrow was on the string and had to be shot. Regardless of the pain of speeding up the stripping of his own spirit vein, Chen Mo concentrated his consciousness and forcibly stimulated this tentacle channel, causing it to expand a circle and speed up the flow inside. Blood was constantly flowing out of the capillaries all over the body, but Chen Mo was completely unaware of it. He was calm and collected. He raised his right hand and tapped Ning Ranran's forehead with one finger. He used the power of Qi Yuan to vibrate his vocal cords and whispered, "Don't resist. Let go of your mind and activate the Qi Yuan in your Qi Si. Don't forget that you are willing to be my substitute for washing your meridians." The penetrating whisper, like the morning bell and evening drum, woke up the nearly unconscious Ning Ranran. She understood that the Qi washing secret technique had reached a critical moment. She forced her heavy eyelids to sit cross-legged and began to stir the Qi Si that felt full for the first time. With Ning Ranran's cooperation, the attraction of the phantom of her useless spiritual vein on her back increased a lot, like a whale sucking water, constantly pulling the phantom of Chen Mo's useless spiritual vein. Chen Mo felt that in the dark, some mysterious talent in her body was being stripped away piece by piece. The speed of peeling was too fast, and even the tentacle channel swelled up. Its rough brown skin, like an old tree root, was cracked inch by inch, but under the control of Chen Mo's consciousness, it made a crackling sound and continued to operate smoothly. Ling. The manifestation level of the host's earth element waste spirit vein has dropped to 6.6%. Continuing to maintain the tentacle channel will cause irreparable damage to the host's body. It is recommended that the host cut off the connection point and stop the vein washing technique. The invisible and intangible spirit consciousness was condensed like a knife. Chen Mo moved his mind and swung it down fiercely. It was as if he heard a crisp sound of paper breaking, and the connection with Ning Ranran was broken. The shadows of the earth spirit veins behind the two people shattered and dissipated at the same time. At this moment, Chen Mo only felt that something in his body was peeled off, and his perception of the earth disappeared instantly. The stone chamber was filled with free earth spirit energy, but like a mortal with incomplete sense of Qi, he could not feel their existence at all. This feeling of seeing flowers in the fog was extremely uncomfortable, especially since Chen Mo had divine consciousness and could sense the abundant earth spirit energy around him with divine sense, but he was like he had lost his respiratory organs and could not use even a trace of earth spirit energy. Of course, this was Chen Mo's illusion. Since the manifestation of the waste earth spirit vein had dropped significantly, he could not adapt to the perception and absorption efficiency of earth spirit energy for a while, so Chen Mo felt so uncomfortable. If he meditated and practiced Qi for 100 days in such a high concentration of earth spirit energy environment, he could also condense a lot of Qi Yuan. Therefore, no matter how poor Chen Mo's earth spirit energy is now, he is definitely not a mortal who cannot practice. In the future, when his cultivation is high, he can also activate the earth spirit energy with divine consciousness and perform many earth-based magic. However, compared with those who are born with earth spirit veins, the magic power is smaller and consumes more Qi Yuan and Shen Yuan. That's right, even if a practitioner has multiple attribute spiritual veins, He will only choose the one with the best qualifications and practice hard, otherwise, he will get twice the result with half the effort. As for some practitioners, in order to pursue a variety of means and combat power that is superior to the same level, they will choose to practice multiple attributes at the same time, and release different attribute spells at the same time to form a powerful combination of spells. These people who practice multiple systems are very rare, but those who have achieved something are all famous. Of course, Chen Mo did not regret washing away his own earth element mixed spiritual veins. The 9 yin forging veins decision seeks an extreme purity. Once it is completed, with a body of yin spirit, it will be the darling of the free yin spiritual energy between heaven and earth. No matter what yin attribute spells are used, it will be twice the result with half the effort. A large number of yin attribute spells are included and created in the chip database. With the addition of the yin spirit body, various strange spells can be instantly cast. Even if it pays a tragic price and surpasses a realm to cast the secret spells of the supernatural power period, it is not impossible. Chen Mo was confident that with only the yin-type magic, his combat power could still surpass those of his peers. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Exhaling a long 3-foot-long white air, Chen Mo put the shroud back in place and wrapped his body tightly again. The war evil, ice evil, and yin spiritual energy contained in it returned to his body again, expelling all the original earth spiritual energy, and the sea of qi returned to its original state of being surrounded by gray fog. Chen Mo turned back into a sinister little devil, stretched his limbs, and felt a familiar sense of power all over his body. 7 yin spiritual veins emerged from his back, absorbing the pitiful yin spiritual energy floating in the stone chamber. Gray fog continued to penetrate from the pores of his body, and the interference of the waste earth spiritual veins was reduced. Chen Mo clearly felt that the astringency of the gray halo, when it circulated around him, was much lighter. Nodding, although his eyes could not hide his fatigue, Chen Mo was very satisfied with this meridian cleansing ceremony, and the feedback from the chip also showed this. The meridian cleansing effect reached 93% of the expected effect. Next, please take the special Earth Meridian Cleansing Pill regularly. As the manifestation rate of the waste Earth Meridian decreases, gradually reduce the oral dosage. Within a year, the waste Earth Meridian will be completely washed away. The Meridian Cleansing Pill is the most popular meridian cleansing method. There are as many meridian cleansing pills of a certain attribute as there are types of attribute meridians. It is made of various precious spiritual materials with the effects of taking away the soul and repelling the soul. It is specially used to strip away the waste spiritual veins of the cultivators. The price is not cheap. The lower the cultivation level of the user, the easier it is to wash away the waste spiritual veins of the cultivator. It is a daily pill that the second generation of cultivators have been taking since childhood. The pulse cleansing suggestion given by the chip to Chen Mo is to take the Earth Meridian Cleansing Pill and the Fire Meridian Cleansing Pill every day. Through the secret technique of meridian washing substitute and the meridian washing pills he prepared himself, Chen Mo has greatly reduced the cost of meridian washing. With a continuous income from the Gurum breeding farm, it is enough to cover the daily drug consumption. Turning to look at Ning Ranrun, Chen Mo found that her complexion was not bad. The aura on her body actually reached the first level of qi training steadily with a rich earth spirit in the stone room. With her poor qualifications, which is also the last among the waste spirit veins, she has completed the entry stage of qi training in less than a month, which can be regarded as rapid progress. Miss Ning, the meridian washing is over. Thank you for your cooperation. After returning, you still need to consolidate the realm of qi training in the first level. Chen Mo's reminder made Ning Ranrun very happy. She did not expect to have an unexpected surprise of advancement. Originally, she was mentally prepared to complete the qi training within 3 years. However, Chen Mo's next sentence made Ning Ranrun's joy, which had just risen, fall to the bottom. Chapter 87, Pull up your pants and refuse to admit it? Your hidden waste spiritual veins have been integrated into the waste earth spiritual veins that were stripped from me, and are no longer pure. The rejection reaction caused will only make your qi training speed slower and slower. After a pause, giving Ning Ranrun some time to adapt, Chen Mo sentenced her future practice to death. Your spiritual veins are mixed. Your life is to absorb the earth spiritual energy from the intermediate spiritual stones every day. The 6th level of qi training will be the end. Ning Ranrun's heart was dead, her eyes were dull, and she stared at Chen Mo in a daze. She didn't notice that due to the fluctuation of the spiritual energy of the meridian washing ceremony, Her hair was messy, and the opening of the top of her clothes revealed a piece of snow white, like exquisite white porcelain. Chen Mo's eyes accidentally swept across this beautiful place, and a burning heat arose in his heart, but he was not a low-level animal dominated by his lower body. The yin spiritual energy enveloped his whole body, similar to taking a cold shower. His eyes instantly regained clarity and he looked at Ning Ranran indifferently. Well, using someone and then kicking him away, it's not fair to think about it. In theory, the deal of serving as a substitute for the pulse washing in exchange for the help of Chen Mo in the supernatural power period is reasonable, but Ning Ranran's heartbroken look is really pitiful. Chen Mo feels a little sorry for it. With a sigh, Chen Mo comforted her, "Forget it, I will add another bonus to this deal. In the future, I will exchange a body refining earth attribute technique from the Sutra Pavilion for you. How far you can practice it depends on your luck." Because Ning Ranran was born in the Fu Bo Marcus mansion, the Blood Cloth sect would never accept her as an outer disciple, unless she was extremely talented, had a special spiritual body, or had the top qualifications of the 9 spiritual veins. Therefore, Ning Ranran, who could not enter the demon sect, was destined to spend the rest of her life in the ancient city not far from the mountain gate. With a cultivation of Qi training level 1, she could do anything, which was better than the life of ordinary people and warriors. But Ning Ranran could not expect much of the magnificent scenery on the road of cultivation. It would not cost more than a few dozen spirit stones to exchange a body training method suitable for the Qi training period for Ning Ranran in the Sutra Library. Chen Mo regarded it as a good deed to let her have a desire to strive. No matter how bad it is, the earth-attributed body refining technique is always more efficient than Ning Ranran's continued use of the Muju, which has incompatible attributes, to practice Qi. If she dies of depression because of the difficulty in avenging her before I can take down Yan Qingyi's dog head, it will more or less affect the successful completion of this transaction. Chen Mo's mind moved, and he thought of a possibility. If in the future some inner demon gets stuck in a dead end and uses not fulfilling the promise to avenge Ning Ranran before her death to disturb my mind and break my heart of Taoism, it will be a trouble that is not small but big. Let the chip analyze this mental flaw and find that it makes sense logically. In order to nip it in the bud, Chen Mo decided to give Ning Ranran a direction to strive for, so that she would not have no hope of cultivating immortals, and would not have wild thoughts all day and become increasingly haggard. Ning Ranran didn't know Chen Mo's true thoughts. His last gift touched her heart. The fortitude she had pretended to have since escaping Kang Zhao disappeared at this moment, and she even lowered her head and sobbed. But Chen Mo didn't take any further action. The pulse-washing substitute was just a deal where both sides got what they needed. In addition, Chen Mo had already added a body refining technique as a bonus. Now, no matter how charming Ning Ranran was, he would not be moved by any mortal heart, let alone lend her a shoulder to lean on. Seeing that Ning Ranran had collapsed emotionally and it would take some time for her to recover to normal, Chen Mo condensed a gust of cold wind in a very unromantic way, wrapped her delicate body, and sent her out of the stone room steadily. Then the stone door slammed shut in front of Ning Ranran with a bang. The 5-character warning engraved on the stone gate by the predecessor's trespassers will be fed by insects, every stroke of which revealed a murderous aura, which made Ning Ranran stop sobbing. She smiled miserably and said self-deprecatingly, "I really thought too much? The nature of a demon is the nature of a demon after all." His temporary kindness was just a whim, but he was moved to the point of losing his mind. Looking up at the top of the dark corridor wall, Ning Ranran stopped crying and turned back to the ancient city. She would never have the chance to become a disciple of the Blood Cloth sect in this life. Although Chen Mo would not say much if she was forced to stay in the guroom, for Ning Ranran, watching others' cultivation improve day by day inside the gate would only increase the sadness of her inferior talent. This was an endless torment on her mind, so she simply left far away and spent the rest of her life in the ancient city. The way of body refining is a hope, but with my current aptitude, how much luck can I have? Ning Ranran sighed. Although she had expectations for the exercises that Chen Mo promised, her reason told her that her cultivation in this lifetime would stop at the 6th level of Qi training. In a dark corner, Chu Zijin restrained his breath and hid in the shadows. He witnessed the scene of Ning Ranran being kicked out by Chen Mo. She didn't know the truth, but she was very happy in her heart, gloating, "Oh, pulling up the pants and not admitting it, taking the benefits and not doing the work. It is a fine tradition of the old Chen family." Especially his father Chen Dingman, as a minister, he has been favored by the emperor for generations, but he always wants to rebel. Today, It seems that Chen Mo and he are cast in the same mold, but one betrayed a woman, and the other betrayed the emperor. Looking at the weak back of Ning Ranran, who was holding the rock wall and staggering away, Chu Zijin cursed inwardly. However, this bitch does not deserve sympathy. It's her own fault. She wanted to entertain people with her sexiness. It's your bad luck to run into Chen Mo, a hungry wolf who eats everything and refuses to admit it. The lesson from the past was vivid in his mind. Chu Zijin's confidence in playing with Chen Mo was shattered. For a moment, he could not think of how to be hypocritical with Chen Mo while keeping his chastity, so he hesitated. Even though the stone room where Chen Mo was resting was right in front of him, Chu Zijin was still worried and did not dare to push open the closed stone door, as if he would really face the fate of being caught to feed the worms or being eaten up by Chen Mo like Ning Ranran. After hesitating for a long time, Chu Zijin still did not have the courage to push open the stone door, and Chen Mo and he were alone in the room. In the end, he turned around and left unwillingly. The latest novels are published on the 69th book bar. After sending Ning Ranran away, Chen Mo sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to rest. He had no idea that such an interesting scene would happen outside the Gu room. Ling. Take 1 pulse cleansing pill a day, and the speed of cultivation will be faster than being born with 9 spiritual veins. I suggest that the host race against time and take 1 fire pulse cleansing pill and 1 earth pulse cleansing pill now. Chen Mo followed the doctor's instructions on the chip and took out a small white jade bottle, from which he poured out 2 long-incised pulse cleansing pills, 1 red and 1 yellow. Ling. The analysis of the key cleansing pill is complete. The ingredients are as follows. 12% soul-stealing grass, 23% soul-repelling whitestone, 32% broken jade marrow, 5% dispersing withered grass, and the rest are ineffective ingredients such as wormwood and sucrose. You can add mid-level spiritual stone powders of different properties as medicine guides based on the object of the key cleansing pill, and specifically wash away the hidden waste spiritual veins of the corresponding properties. Based on the actual objects and the key cleansing pill recipes included in the sutra library, the chip provided Chen Mo with a concentrated key cleansing pill recipe that increased the medicinal power by 12% and saved 5% of the core raw material, broken jade marrow. Ling. Each key cleansing pill purchased by the host contains at least 28% ineffective ingredients. This is a method used by alchemists to sell inferior products at a premium, which can capture high net profits. It is a major unspoken rule in the pill industry and the reason why selling pills is so profitable. Chapter 88, Internal Vision Change. Chen Mo played with the 2 key cleansing pills in his hand, and couldn't help but sigh at the ingenious ideas of the profiteer alchemist. Take a large amount of secular ingredients that are not even worth a spiritual stone, grind them into powder, and evenly mix them with the core ingredients in the pill formula to make a pill whose size and efficacy do not match. The buyer cannot recognize the trick in the ingredients of the key cleansing pill at all, and will only think that the thing in front of them is a unique key cleansing pill carefully prepared by the refiner, and has no doubt about its size, weight, and medicinal properties. Only the chip can verify the ingredients of each key cleansing pill inch by inch through sampling and analysis, and see through the treacherous means of the refiner to fill in the gaps. The same recipe can produce thousands of different kinds of pills in the hands of different alchemists. This is the disadvantage of producing pills in private workshops. There is no unified measurement, which leads to a huge price difference for the same pill on the market. The refiners behind them make a lot of money by taking advantage of the information asymmetry with the buyers, and they are very rich and prosperous. When Chen Mo swallowed the 2 key cleansing pills together, he felt a pain in his heart. According to the absolute price comparison method of the chip, he paid a quarter of a middle-level spirit stone for the 2 key cleansing pills he had just swallowed. Key cleansing pills, what I eat every day, are all colorful spirit stones. Chen Mo felt so heartbroken that he was about to bleed, but he did not have the courage to return to the shop to expose the shop owner's profiteer face, because these pills were self-operated by the sect, and the complex interest chain behind them was something that even a cultivator in the supernatural power stage would not dare to touch at will. Fortunately, he was only profited by the unscrupulous alchemist for a small jade bottle. After that, Chen Mo will refine every elixir needed for pulse washing by himself, completely eliminating the profit space of all kinds of unscrupulous merchants. When buying samples of pulse washing pills, this knife must be slaughtered, because only in this way can the chip combine the known prescriptions and deduce the refining process of Chen's pulse washing pills 100% perfectly. When breeding ghost fire ants, the chip calculations were inconsistent, resulting in a few poor insects being raised to death. Chen Mo lost some spiritual stones at most, but if the pulse-washing pills that he had to take every day had any flaws in the finished product due to insufficient data, Chen Mo would die if he swallowed them. The road of cultivation is dangerous step by step. Chen Mo would rather spend a little more spiritual stones to ensure the health, safety and quality of the homemade pulse-washing pills. The pulse-cleansing pill in this small jade bottle can be eaten for 3 or 4 days. Chen Mo is not in a hurry to go to the blood clothes building to exchange the spiritual materials needed for refining the subsequent pills. Instead, he plans to carefully experience the changes in his body after the pulse cleansing and let the chip monitor the changes in his own waste spiritual veins in real time. Unconsciously, a series of extremely dim gray mists emerged from the cracks in the bluestone floor of the stone room, like a thin snake, slowly crawling towards Chen Mo, who was meditating with his eyes closed. As the gray mist spread, the temperature in the stone room dropped suddenly, and every inch of the rock wall was covered with a layer of white frost. The free yin spiritual energy in the room also lost its former activity and no longer swarmed towards Chen Mo's sea of qi. However, Chen Mo did not notice the strange changes in the stone room at all. Even the chip that had been running non-stop for 12 hours did not issue a warning in time. It only issued a long DD reminder in Chen Mo's mind, and then there was no sound. When the change occurred, Chen Mo was closing his eyes and looking inward at his spiritual veins. In the darkness, there were only 2 clusters of strange light, one red and one yellow, slowly beating, which seemed particularly dazzling. No matter how strong the thick gray fog around was, it could not erode these 2 discordant existences. The light balls symbolizing the 2 hidden waste spiritual veins of fire and earth were like torches that resolutely stood firm in the long night. No matter how the outside world changed, I remained unmoved. However, Chen Mo could clearly feel that the yellow light ball representing the waste spiritual vein of earth was a little weak. If it were not for the red light ball next to it, it would have been submerged in the darkness long ago. A white light suddenly appeared and cut through this dark space, but it did not bring light, but a deeper darkness. The white light split into 2, splitting on the red and yellow strange light balls respectively. The light and shadow swayed, and for a moment, the surrounding black and gray fog increased in momentum, biting off a piece of fat meat from them. When the white light disappeared, the halo of the 2 strange light balls shrank a circle, and they could only lean on each other timidly to resist the erosion of the black and gray fog, symbolizing the yin spiritual vein. Chen Mo witnessed this scene and understood that the weakening of the red and yellow light was the effect of the 2 pulse cleansing pills. Unfortunately, he felt full as if he had eaten too much. He knew that today's pulse cleansing had reached its limit. No matter how many more drugs he took, it would not have any effect. Chip, analyze it. How many days will it take to completely cleanse the fire and earth waste spirit veins? Chips are everywhere. Chen Mo has become accustomed to looking for chips when he has questions. However, he called 3 times repeatedly, and no mechanical sound rang in the empty dark space. Chen Mo had an ominous premonition. As soon as he moved his mind, he wanted to get out of the state of inner vision. However, after trying for a long time, Chen Mo's consciousness still lingered in this dark space, like a rootless duckweed, and could not sense the existence of the flesh at all. Subconsciously, he touched his forehead to see if his head was still there, but he touched nothing. This was because when he looked inward, Chen Mo was in a state of spirit, which was a formless halo. Although he was aware of his own existence, he did not have any 5 senses. It was impossible for him to experience the so-called physical texture. The latest novels are published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo was in a very strange state. His spirit was imprisoned in his body, with no hope of escape. After wandering in the darkness for an unknown period of time, Chen Mo suddenly felt his consciousness sink. When he woke up again, he found himself sitting quietly in the stone room. Subconsciously, he moved his hands and feet and found that they were all original goods, and they still felt familiar. With a shroud, the black and red cloth strips turned into a phantom that was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye, and accurately smashed on the stone door. Could it be that everything just now was an illusion? Chen Mo frowned and looked around, and found that the stone chamber had not changed at all from before he looked inward. Even the warning formation set up for safety reasons was placed in its original position, with a halo flowing above it, and it did not look like it had been touched by anyone. Boldly looking inward, Chen Mo found that the yin spiritual veins in his body were so powerful that they had forced the fire and earth spiritual veins together, like a candle in the wind, which could be extinguished at any time. With a thought, Chen Mo regained control of his body without any delay, which made him deeply doubt that the scene of his soul being trapped in the body just now was just a dream. Chip, analyze my mental state just now. Have I been busy with cultivation recently and overly tired, leading to hysteria? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, Senior Brother is Plotting Against Me? However, Chen Mo did not get any response from the chip, and sweat could not help seeping out of his forehead. Things are going to be troublesome. Chen Mo was shocked. The last time he could not contact the chip was when he was possessed by an evil spirit in Ding Mansion. Thinking back to that dangerous soul contest, he still felt a lingering fear. Comparing his state at that time and now, Chen Mo noticed the similarities. He was in a soul state. Although everything in front of him was real, it was just an illusion created by someone with intentions. It can't be an evil spirit. If it can sneak into the stone room quietly and make me fall into this illusion, even if it can directly devour me and the gatekeeper Zhao Chengjue, it would be a piece of cake. Chen Mo immediately ruled out the possibility of evil spirit possession. Although the goo room is underground, it is still some distance away from the real cave world. Those evil and filthy monsters don't have the ability to lurk all the way here, let alone have the leisure to trouble a small outer disciple like him. Moreover, every tunnel that has been found to connect to the underground world is densely covered with the blood robe sex protective formations, and even guarded by the supernatural power monks. It is not a soul body like evil spirits that can sneak in freely. That is the inner demon. Chen Mo had a guess in his mind. The inner demon is different from the heart-questioning gate. The latter is a kind of loss of self-identity when the cultivator's Tao heart is confused. According to the analysis of the chip, it is a mental illness. The biggest harm is the loss of reason and becoming a walking corpse. The inner demon is an invisible and intangible existence. There are many debates about its nature in the cultivation world. Some people say that the inner demon is a soul body similar to the evil spirit, but its ability to influence reality is not as strong as that of the evil spirit. Some people say that the inner demon is an alien creature from the sky. Through the channel of the mind, it descends into the sea of consciousness of the cultivator. Through one illusion after another, it breaks the human heart and makes the soul fall into endless darkness. Some people also said that the inner demon was nothing more than the reverse flow of Qi Yuan during cultivation, which rushed up to the sea of consciousness and hurt the soul, causing a fully sane practitioner to become schizophrenic. One body contained two souls that could think independently and take turns to control the body. Of course, in the scientific analysis of the chip, the so-called inner demon, like the heart-searching gate, is a mental illness caused by the lack of self-identity. However, this scene in front of him made Chen Mo choose not to believe in the scientific analysis of the chip. In fact, everything about the soul was too weird, completely contrary to all mathematical constants, and it was completely unscientific. Chip, if you don't say anything, your coffin lid can't be covered. How can you help me cultivate immortality scientifically? Chen Mo was anxious, but he didn't wait for the help of the chip. He sighed that its function was still not powerful enough and needed to be shut down and upgraded. After wandering in the stone room for a long time, but without any breakthrough progress, Chen Mo was alert physically and mentally, pushed open the stone door, and was determined to explore the outside world. Waiting to die in fear is not my style, Chen Mo. If I have to die, I will die on the road to the truth. In the desperate situation, Chen Mo's ruthlessness came up. The moment he stepped out of the stone chamber, he had the idea of extracting the soul and refining the spirit of the plotter. However, as soon as he went out, Chen Mo saw a fat and familiar figure waiting outside, Zhao Chengjue. This time, he did not bring the mobile recliner ghost fire ant, but stood with his hands on his hips in a serious and energetic manner. Seeing Chen Mo coming out, Zhao Chengjue showed an apologetic look, bowed deeply, and apologized to Chen Mo. Junior brother Chen, I pulled you into the illusion without informing you in advance. This is really my fault. After I see the remaining soul of junior brother Jiang and resolve his obsession, I will exchange my life savings for your forgiveness. Zhao Chengjue strange behavior scared Chen Mo so much that he tightened the shroud around him. If he was not afraid of his 6th level key training, he would have smashed his fat body with a shuttle of magic. In the illusion, Chen Mo was able to use Qi Yuan and Shen Yuan, which made him believe that if the real culprit behind the creation of the illusion was found and killed, everything could be restored to the original state. Listen to him first. If it doesn't work, kill all the creatures in the illusion. Chen Mo's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Zhao Chengjue didn't care about all that. In a low voice, he told Chen Mo the reasons why the two of them were trapped in the illusion together. Junior brother, the previous owner of the 12th stone room of Type A where you live is a junior brother of mine with a very good relationship. His surname is Jiang Wen. He is also the previous contractor of this room breeding farm. Remembering the old friend and thinking of the relationship when they shared a bed, Zhao Chengjue eyes turned red and his voice gradually choked. The latest novel is first released on Liuji 9 Shuba. Unfortunately, an insect plague of unknown origin swept through the entire room, causing the ghost fire ants cultivated by junior brother Jiang to die or be injured. Not many survived. The ghost fire ant that I have been using as a mobile recliner is one of them. Junior brother Jiang borrowed money to buy the room breeding farm. He could have made a lot of money, but this sudden insect plague made everything go to waste. When I rushed to this stone room, all I saw was his body that had severed his heart meridian and died. The first half of this sentence was logically reasonable and consistent with what Chen Mo saw and heard when he took over the mess of the room. However, Jiang Wen's corpse sounded wrong no matter how he listened to it, which made Chen Mo doubt whether the person in front of him was Zhao Chengjue, so he asked, "Senior brother Zhao, you said that you and Jiang Wen were like brothers, but why didn't you collect his corpse? If I remember correctly, when I first moved into this stone room, there was a skeleton without flesh and blood inside." Chen Mo stared at Zhao Chengjue eyes, trying to find clues, and then asked, "Don't tell me that the skeleton is Jiang Wen, and you, as a good brother, have never buried him." Zhao Chengjue was not panicked by the lie being exposed. He said calmly, "Junior brother Jiang's major is the soul, and he doesn't value the stinking skin bag of flesh so much. Moreover, I kept his remains so that he would have a place to go when his soul returns to his hometown. It's a pity that he has never come back once in all these years." Seeing Chen Mo's distrust, Zhao Chengjue explained patiently. He also knew that this was human nature. Anyone who is pulled into an illusion would be wary of the creatures they saw. Evil spirits and inner demons are best at playing with people's hearts. They are ever-changing and often use the illusions of blood relatives, close friends, and Taoist companions to tear open the spiritual defenses of practitioners. Chen Mo must have known this, so he was so suspicious. Zhao Chengjue spread his hands and said helplessly, "Please believe me, Junior brother Chen. I am Zhao Chengjue who has been watching the stone gate for more than 10 years. Today's illusion was also arranged by senior brother. I want to use junior brother's hand to lure out the remaining soul of Jiang Wen who is still wandering in the underground cave world. Please follow me, junior brother." Chapter 90, Corpse Illusion. Chen Mo was skeptical, but the person in front of him was the only living being he had met so far, and he could only follow him to have a chance to discover the flaws in the illusion. "Junior brother Chen, I didn't tell you in advance because it happened so suddenly that even I didn't expect it at all. After the last ghost fire ant you cultivated was sold, I felt the familiar aura of junior brother Jiang. In order to track his soul, I had to immediately activate the soul-calling formation that guarded the room and pull you and me into this illusion together." While leading the way, Zhao Chengjue sincerely bowed to Chen Mo and apologized, explaining that the soul-calling formation was set up by the sect to create an illusion to protect underground buildings from attacks by creatures in the underground cave world. "It's just that I'm a coward and afraid of death. I want to sleep peacefully at night, so I added some personal dry goods to the soul-calling formation, which is why it has the current power, and it is so hidden that even you, junior brother, can't detect it." Zhao Chengjue series of explanations made Chen Mo believe it a little bit. If it was an illusion created by evil spirits or demons, he would not be able to chat with people so leisurely now. He would have been alerted by his spiritual sense and felt the murderous intent hidden under the calmness. Maybe he could not help but use all his means to fight with Zhao Chengjue. Zhao Chengjue held a square wooden plate in his hand, with a crystal pointer suspended in the center. No matter how the direction of advance changed, it firmly pointed to an unchanging direction leading to the depths of the earth. Having been a dormitory manager for more than 10 years, Zhao Chengjue was familiar with the secret passage deep in the room. The twists and turns along the way made Chen Mo dizzy, but he looked calm and did not panic at all. He relied on a pointer to lead the way, and explained the wooden plate in his hand to Chen Mo with a hint of pride, Junior brother Chen, this is the soul summoning array that I have carefully modified. Look, this fine needle made of yin crystal is added by me. It is extremely sensitive to the soul body. In this illusion, it can easily determine the approximate position of junior brother Jiang. As they talked, the two came to an open place. The rock wall above their heads was more than 100 meters above the ground, but there was no crack on its surface. Even the tenacious fluorescent moss could not grow here, so the entire underground space was shrouded in darkness. The yin crystal pointer trembled slightly, indicating that there was a high-intensity soul body ahead, but Zhou Fangyan did not feel Jiang Wen's breath and showed a trace of confusion. Chen Mo's physique was so strong that he had the instinct to see at night, so he didn't need to use the open fire technique and became a live target in the dark. Looking carefully, he saw a large number of ghost fire ant corpses scattered 100 steps away. Their dark shells were covered with scarlet spots as big as soybeans, just like a rash, which was scary. Junior brother Chen, the goo room that you and I walked through together before was an illusion I constructed through the soul summoning array, but the part opposite was not my work, but the residual soul of junior brother Jiang. Next, please attract junior brother Jiang out. Zhou Fangyan's voice was heard and explained to Chen Mo the reason. The scene in front of him was the tragic scene of the ghost fire ants after they were infected with the insect plague. It was this sudden blow that forced Jiang Wen to lose all hope and commit suicide. When Zhou Fangyan sensed a trace of Jiang Wen's aura earlier, he immediately activated the soul summoning formation and constructed an illusion in order to establish a channel of communication with Jiang Wen's remaining soul. However, Jiang Wen has not appeared until now. If he doesn't come up with a solution, Zhou Fangyan will miss the opportunity to meet Jiang Wen's soul when the illusion collapses. As he was speaking, the ground began to shake slightly. The corpses of ghost fire ants all over the ground quickly decayed, the flesh and blood melted away, revealing piles of white bones. Zhou Fangyan also became anxious and begged, "The illusion is unstable. This is a sign that junior brother Jiang is leaving. Please, junior brother Chen, do everything you can to stimulate his remaining soul to show up." "Me? Senior brother Zhou, aren't you two brothers and sisters, beloved relatives and friends? Do you need to look for me to find someone? If he wanted to see me, I sleep in the goo room every day, and he should have met me long ago. It's just that junior brother Jiang's obsession is too deep. He doesn't want to see anyone. But you are different. You will turn the goo room breeding farm from loss to profit, and you will definitely be able to attract junior brother Jiang to show up." Zhou Fangyan wanted to push Chen Mo into the illusion of insect corpses created by Jiang Wen, but he knew that Chen Mo had to be willing for this. Although his forehead was sweating, he didn't dare to reach out his chubby hands to Chen Mo. Chen Mo thought for a moment and decided to help Zhou Fangyan and solve the problem of Jiang Wen. Otherwise, he would drag himself into the illusion every now and then. How could he let me practice? I can't help it. This Zhou is the dormitory manager and controls the guardian formation of the goo room, the summoning array. Unless I move out, I still have to rely on him for a living. With a deep sigh, Chen Mo stepped into the dark scene of insect corpses, and did not forget to extort money. "Brother Zhou, don't forget the reward. I want all your wealth. As you say, whatever you say. I just want to meet Jiang Wen. I hope you will do your best." Crossing the connection point of the two illusions, there was a sense of hysteresis of breaking through the membrane, and leaving the illusion constructed by the summoning array. Chen Mo felt that his heart was shrouded in a layer of haze, which was quite uncomfortable. Looking around, he faintly felt a hidden hostility. Hiss, this Jiang Wen is still not at peace after his death. I'm afraid he is not a good character to deal with. Senior brother Zhou, please don't trick me. Chen Mo thought to himself that it was not good, so he could only be more careful to search for Jiang Wen's footprints among the insect corpses. It was purely useless. The latest novels are first released on the 69th book bar. After almost visiting the entire tragedy scene, Chen Mo did not catch a trace of human smell. In desperation, he could only shout out loud, "Senior brother Jiang, I am Chen Mo, the current contractor of the goo room breeding farm. I have some problems with the eugenics of ghost fire ants. I want to listen to senior brother Jiang's advice." The voice was lingering, but Jiang Wen's figure still did not appear. At the same time, the speed at which the ghost fire ant corpses weathered and disappeared was getting faster and faster, and the frequency of the ground shaking under his feet was getting higher and higher. The whole illusion, like faded fabric, became pale and illusory, and the surrounding void was filled with waves of strong squeezing force. With a warning from his spiritual sense, Chen Mo sensed that the illusion of the insect corpse was about to collapse, and quickly turned back to the illusion of the goo room where Zhou Fanggidun was. He could clearly see that Zhou Fanggidun's fat face was full of despair, and he had obviously given up the hope of seeing Jiang Wen again. "Junior brother Jiang, after so many years, why don't you want to see your brother?" Zhou Fanggidun clenched the wooden plate in his hand and sighed. Chen Mo, who was running back all the way, fell to growing malice, and wished he could grow wings and fly back to the illusion created by the spirit summoning array. Chapter 91 Evil Spirit, Jiang Wen. Dear junior brother Chen, since you want to listen to my experience in breeding fire ants so much, how can you leave in such a hurry? An evil voice came from all directions, containing the power to make people drowsy. Affected by it, Chen Mo's running steps slowed down. When Zhou Fanggidun first heard this voice that he had not heard for many years, his face showed a joyful look of having gotten what he wanted, but the square wooden plate in his hand suddenly broke into pieces. His face suddenly changed, and he loudly reminded Chen Mo to be careful. "Not good, junior brother Jiang has transformed into an evil spirit, and we have fallen into his illusion trap." The wooden plate that controlled the entire summoning array was reduced to ashes in an instant, leaving only the yin crystal pointer in the center, which was firmly aimed at Jiang Wen, emitting a dazzling light. The yin crystal is the remains of the evil spirit after its demise. It is normal for it to sense the presence of its own kind and be attracted to each other. Zhou Fanggidun then realized that his act of constructing the illusion of the goo room and trying to receive Jiang Wen's residual soul was actually inviting a wolf into the house. If Jiang Wen was only physically dead, but his soul remained awake and wandered in the world, this method of receiving would allow the brothers who were separated by life and death to meet each other. But now, Jiang Wen has transformed into an evil spirit. Opening the passage to the goo room illusion for him is equivalent to taking the initiative to remove the protective function of the summoning array, exposing Chen Mo and Zhou Fanggidun's souls to the evil spirit without any defense. The illusion in which the two were in was rippling, and the evil spirit's calculations were already exposed. Chen Mo stopped, because it was impossible to run back to the goo room illusion and use this passage to return his soul. Unknowingly, the two had fallen into the clutches of the evil spirit. With the collapse of the summoning array, the goo room illusion created by Zhou Fanggidun also became illusory. After a few breaths, the two were pulled into deep darkness by the evil spirit. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Countless pairs of scarlet compound eyes appeared around, which were ghost fire ants covered with red spots. They surrounded Zhou Fanggidun and Chen Mo, opened their jaws and made a powerful hissing sound. Standing back to back, Chen Mo felt the fatness and coldness of Zhou Fanggidun's back. Looking around at the mountains and seas of insects, he felt an indescribable grief and indignation in his heart. I was tricked by this fat guy who missed his junior brother so much. Chip, come out and help me quickly. The connection between Chen Mo and the chip was cut off. The influence of the spirit summoning array played only a negligible role. The illusion woven by the evil spirit was the main reason for shielding the chip. Now, I can only pray that the chip will be unblocked as soon as possible. Zhou Fanggidun's fat body trembled. He knew that today was a bad day, and lamented, "Junior brother Chen, I will do my best to hold the evil spirit later. You take the opportunity to get away. The compensation is hidden in the belly of the ghost fire ant that I used as a mobile recliner." What a sincere friendship between brothers and sisters. It's a pity that today, both of your souls will become my meal. A sarcastic voice sounded, the darkness faded, and a handsome young man slowly walked out of the passage made clear by a group of ghost fire ants. It was Jiang Wen. His face was extremely pale, without a trace of blood. Looking closely at his lower body, the part below the knees was composed of a cloud of blood mist. The bloody smell emitted made people dizzy. Originally, I just came back to take a look, but I didn't expect the goo room to be so lively, and brother Zhou, you summoned me enthusiastically, so here I am. Zhou Fanggidun showed a bitter smile, which was uglier than crying, and said self-blamingly, I should have thought of it earlier. More than 10 years ago, after you committed suicide, your soul left your body. In a negative energy environment like the cave, even if you practiced the Jingxinju, you could not maintain your spiritual intelligence. It was only a matter of time before you turned into an evil spirit. Alice, I regretted not dissuading you from taking on debt to raise ghost fire ants. Although the humanoid creature in front of him has perfectly inherited Jiang Wen's memories, he is not the person Zhou Fanggidun wants to see. In other words, the real Jiang Wen, his body and soul are dead, and the one in front of him is just an evil spirit with his appearance and memories. The evil spirit chuckled, turned around to show off, showing his body to Zhou Fengyin, and said proudly, "The physical body is a burden and a hindrance. People like me who practice the way of the soul and transform into evil spirits can go further. Look, my solid body is much stronger than yours." "Shut up, you are not junior brother Zhang, you don't deserve to mention him." Zhou Fangyin's eyes were red. If he hadn't been weak, he would have torn the evil creature in front of him into pieces. Chen Mo heard this and then noticed that the body formed by his soul had become blurred, which meant that he had fallen into disadvantage in the battle of souls with the evil spirit. Once his body collapsed, his soul would not be far from being scattered. By then, the physical body in reality would become a vegetative person without consciousness, and even the chip could not save himself. "Brother, hurry up, I'll stop this evil creature." Zhou Fangyin recovered from his self-blame, unwillingness, regret, and disbelief. He shouted and gathered all his divine energy around him, turning it into a radiant ribbon that rolled up Chen Mo. The ribbon soared into the sky, not only tearing up the ghost fire ants that blocked the way, but also poking a hole in this illusion, revealing the real world outside. The scene he saw was Chen Mo's physical body sitting quietly in the stone room. "Can you leave?" With a sneer, the evil spirit waved his hand, and the broken limbs of the ghost fire ants and the splashing insect fluid turned into gray mist, which quickly filled the hole in the illusion. At this time, Chen Mo had just been wrapped to the edge of the hole by the silk ribbon, transformed by Zhou Fangyin's divine energy. He was a step slower and watched the passage for his soul to return to the body close. The latest novel is first published on Liu Jishuba. The evil spirit was in no hurry to deal with the two. He flew back and chose the most bloated ghost fire ant. He leaned comfortably on it. Then, with a whistle, the ghost fire ants in the illusion rushed towards the two like a tide. "These are the ghost fire ants condensed by my divine energy. You two brothers, feel their love. Don't worry, they are very gentle." Just like a cat teasing a mouse, the evil spirit was enjoying the dying struggles of Chen Mo and Zhou Fengyin, as if the more they resisted and the more pain they suffered, the more joy they would bring him. "Junior brother Chen, I'm sorry for you. If I hadn't used the spirit summoning formation to pull you into the illusion, both of us wouldn't have ended up like this." Zhou Fangyin tore apart a ghost fire ant that was approaching, turned to look at Chen Mo, his eyes full of apology. "If you really want to apologize, restrict the evil spirit's movement for me for at least 50 breaths." Chen Mo hid his body behind Zhou Fangyin, and did not consume a trace of divine energy to deal with the ghost fire ants that pounced on him, but he gave orders to Zhou Fangyin as if it was a matter of course. Feeling guilty, Zhou Fangyin did not care that Chen Mo was lazy and avoided the battle when he was desperate. Instead, he took the initiative to take a step forward to attract the attention of the ghost fire ants around him. The soul ribbon that had been wrapped around Chen Mo flew towards the evil spirit under Zhou Fangyin's command, as if to trap him. A loophole in the illusion created by the evil spirit was found, and the solution to crack it is being transmitted. The chip's help will not be late. After the line was disconnected and reconnected, it immediately analyzed the method to break the deadlock. Chen Mo's eyes flashed, and he looked at the evil spirit who was watching the show not far away, and silently said, "Next, it's my performance time. Don't let the chip's plan ruin you." Quotation mark. Chapter 92, Soul Flaw. Zhou Fangyin was using all his strength to track the firepower of the ghost fire ants. Not only did he use his soul body to fight in the battle, but he also borrowed the soul ribbon that was originally used to protect Chen Mo. Not far away, the evil spirit's face showed a touch of excitement and red, and he was very satisfied with Zhou Fangyin's desperate act. In the illusion created by the evil spirit, the more the prey struggles, the faster it will die, which makes the evil spirit more excited. In the void, wisps of gray-white airflow were produced, and the evil spirit greedily sucked it into its mouth and nose. This is the power of Zhou Fangyin's soul. The harder he fights with the ghost fire ants, the more his soul body dissipates, and the more of his essence is absorbed by the evil spirit. When Zhou Fangyin's soul dissipates much faster than the speed at which he recondenses his soul, he will fall into extreme weakness, lose his ability to resist, and be completely devoured by the evil spirit, and his soul will fly away. The evil spirit Zhang Wen chose to devour, not the most direct and fastest way to take over the body of a living being, but this soft knife way of cutting flesh, transforming into a large number of ghost fire ants to consume Zhou Fangyin's soul, which can be said to be the most dignified and upright teacher, and the safest way. This shows the cunning of this evil spirit. In the illusion he created, Zhao Chengjue and Chen Mo, as foreign soul bodies, consumed much more than the evil spirit, but their recovery speed was far less than that. If one continued to grow and the other grew, there would be a day when the oil ran out. The chip transmitted data in an instant, but Chen Mo did not rush to release the trick to break the situation directly, but patiently waited for the opportunity to kill with one blow. Zhao Chengjue fought for a long time, and his soul body had become translucent. Although he did not retreat a step, the speed of killing ghost fire ants slowed down greatly. According to the calculation of the chip, he could only hold on for another 3 or 4 minutes. The evil spirit was in very good condition. Although the ghost fire ants condensed by the spirit essence were constantly killed by Zhao Chengjue in various ways, the corpses they left behind, after disintegrating into gray mist, would condense into a ghost fire ant again. Although it was smaller than before, it was 3 times more condensed, and its ability to consume Zhao Chengjue spirit and soul was not weakened. This cycle repeated, the sea of insects was endless. In addition, the evil spirit was extremely cautious. Although it leaned on a ghost fire ant and looked lazy, its eyes were always wandering around Zhao Chengjue and Chen Mo, not letting go of any of their small movements. The strength of the spirit field around the evil spirit is gradually rising, and the spirit essence has broken through the threshold and is close to 9. Zhao Chengjue spirit is declining, and his spirit essence is dropping precipitously. There are still 60 seconds left, and it has dropped to 3.2, originally 6.6, and it has caused permanent spirit damage and cannot be recovered. This spirit competition without any fancy tricks, if Chen Mo does not lend a hand, Zhao Chengjue, who is retreating step by step, will only end up with his spirit annihilated. The momentum around the evil spirit is getting stronger and stronger, and the speed of recovering the damaged ghost fire ants is getting faster and faster, but the chip sees his only weakness. After devouring part of Zhao Chengjue spirit, the origin of the evil spirit has become complicated, like a bloated, slow-moving giant. If there's enough external force, it can easily destroy his balance and make him collapse. If the evil spirit is given a few days to digest the foreign spirit, he will surely make another breakthrough. Unfortunately, I will never give him this opportunity. Chen Mo's eyes flashed, and he got the chip prompt. At the moment when the evil spirit just broke through the 9.0 threshold, he shouted, "Zhang Wen, you can't even deal with an insect plague, and you are qualified to teach me how to breed ghost fire ants." This shout contained the power of Chen Mo's spirit. Through his imagination, he simulated a small disaster scene of an insect plague. As soon as the voice fell, the space around Zhao Chengjue, which was already stretched to the limit, produced a ghost fire ant that died of insect plague out of thin air. The scarlet spots on its body broke through small holes, and yellow pus flowed out of it. The stench it emitted was even more nauseating. The appearance of this insect corpse seemed to have pressed a death switch. Nearby, the ghost fire ants formed by the evil spirit's soul stopped moving one after another. The scarlet spots on their shells suddenly broke open with a pop sound, and pus of the same color flowed out. A chain reaction began, and the same symptoms spread rapidly in the sea of insects. Without Zhao Chengjue final blow, they all fell to the ground, pus flowing all over their bodies, and turned into gray mist. This time, they could no longer be reborn, let alone return to the evil spirit's soul body. They could only diffuse in the air and become ownerless. The ghost fire ants that consumed the essence of the soul were originally a safe means for the evil spirit to surround and kill Zhao Chengjue, but Chen Mo simply transformed into a ghost fire ant corpse that died of insect plague and easily broke this fatal blow. The evil spirit didn't believe it, and the blood mist in the lower body became messy. The sharp shouts made Chen Mo terrified. "The insect plague is a concern of yours. The scarlet spots all over the bodies of the will-o'-the-wisp fire ants are proof of that. But you have always ignored this problem. The illusion of a corpse of an insect that died of the insect plague is just a small hole I tore open in the floor in your heart." Chen Mo kindly answered the evil spirit's confusion and added the last fuel to the fire calmly. "In your subconscious mind, you still care about going bankrupt and committing suicide because of the insect plague. That's why the ghost fire ants you transformed into all have symptoms of the insect plague with scarlet spots. It was you who, after seeing this insect corpse, lost your composure and collapsed without a fight." The words were so certain that every word in the sentence was like a knife engraved in the evil spirit's heart, making him panic, angry, uneasy, and desperate. For a moment, The evil spirit felt mixed emotions and was in a state of confusion. The body, which represented the stability of his soul, gradually became disordered and blurred. He no longer had the energy to deal with Zhou Fangyun. The illusion of mountains and seas of insects that he had painstakingly created was on the verge of collapse. This is the thrill and mystery of the battle between the souls. It is not only a direct competition of the level of the divine essence and the selection of different soul-devouring methods, but also a competition of the solidity of the mental defense line. A small flaw is the beginning of a 1,000-mile dam being breached by an anthole. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Especially the evil spirit is in the critical period of digesting Zhou Fangyun's soul. Although the divine essence is rising steadily, its own state is at a delicate balance point. With the influence of external forces, the harm of this mental flaw can be magnified dozens of times. Chen Mo transformed into an ordinary insect corpse. The divine essence consumed was insignificant, but it could easily pry the evil spirit's mental defense line like a lever with infinite torque. This exquisite method is far inferior to the inner demon known for playing with people's hearts. It is the logic analysis ability of the chip that can combine Zhou Fangyun's narration of Jiang Wen's past and the performance of the evil spirit in the illusion to find a glimmer of hope for a comeback. If it is a simple consumption of soul and spirit, even if Zhou Fangyun and Chen Mo are tied together, they are no match for this evil spirit. Thinking of this, Chen Mo couldn't help but feel proud, and clasped his hands in front of his chest, admiring the scene of the evil spirit's mental collapse with interest. Ling. The evil spirit's soul is scattered but not chaotic, and it still has the power to strike. Please stay alert, host, be careful that the fish is not dead, but the net is broken first. The cold reminder of the chip just sounded, and the evil spirit used Jiang Wen as a template to condense the body of soul and spirit, which collapsed and turned into a ball of blood mist, sweeping towards Chen Mo with an overwhelming momentum. Just being stained with a wisp of blood mist, Chen Mo felt listless and fearful of being shattered. I can't live, and you have to be buried with me. Chapter 93. He comes from the cave. The evil spirit's malicious voice, twisted and extremely harsh due to despair, rushed towards Chen Mo from all directions. Before he could hide behind Zhou Fangyun, he looked around and saw scarlet blood mist everywhere. The air became sticky, as if drops of blood would drip at any time and drown Chen Mo's soul. A white light suddenly appeared, opening a path in the blood mist. Chen Mo's waist and abdomen tightened, and when he looked down, he found that he was entangled with Zhou Fangyun's soul ribbon. Before he could thank Zhou Fangyun, a strong force came from behind, and Chen Mo was directly pulled out of the blood mist. The ecstasy of escaping death surged in his heart. However, after saving Chen Mo, Zhou Fangyun himself had no strength to move. The thick blood mist, with the grief and indignation of the evil spirits who died together, enveloped him. Squeak. Zhou Fangyun's soul body, under the erosion of the blood mist, was like ice and snow in March, constantly melting. In a blink of an eye, it had become a translucent blurry shadow, and even the facial features and limbs could not be distinguished. Ling. The illusion collapsed, the evil spirit's dying backlash ended, and the soul returned to the body. After a dizzy spell, Chen Mo opened his eyes and found himself back in the stone room, with his body still in the same position as before his soul was pulled into the illusion. Due to the battle of wits and courage with the evil spirit, Chen Mo's condition was very poor. This was not a malaise caused by staying up late and sitting for a long time, but a kind of fatigue and weakness from the soul. He wanted to get up, but felt that his body was extremely heavy. Even a simple leg lifting movement became extremely stiff. The body and the soul are closely related. If the soul is damaged, it cannot freely drive the body. Chen Mo struggled for a long time before adjusting the soul to a suitable frequency and barely stood up. Ling. Host Chen Mo, 3rd level of key training, Jing Yuan. 7.8, Qi Yuan. 3.2, Shen Yuan. 0.6, 4.1, status, soul damaged, estimated recovery time. 15,478 minutes. To speed up the recovery of the soul, the host can take a soul-nourishing pill, a rhizome of sleeping grass, and a few stamens of soul-catching flowers. The soul did not leave irreversible hidden injuries. Chen Mo secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that Brother Zhou Fangyun's self-sacrifice was effective. There are no corresponding healing spiritual materials on hand, and the self-recovery time is not long. Chen Mo plans to grit his teeth and tough it out, which can also save some money. The spiritual materials related to the soul are often priced at hundreds or thousands of low-level spirit stones. Chen Mo is not rich enough to spend money like dirt, so he can only endure the pain of the disharmony between his body and soul. It's time to go see how Zhou Fangyan is doing. The desperate attack of the evil spirit is not easy to deal with. Chen Mo already had a bad feeling in his heart, so he walked out of the stone chamber to find Zhou Fangyan's body. If his soul was really scattered, he should choose a feng shui treasure land to bury him. Chen Mo couldn't say he hated or was grateful to Zhou Fangyan. He made a mistake and attracted the evil spirit Zhang Wen, and finally took the last attack of the evil spirit for himself. One merit and one fault, the two were even. As for the injury to the soul, although it was painful, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. He absorbed the scattered soul after the evil spirit flew away. On the basis of the original 3.0 soul essence, it jumped to 4.1, one step closer to the threshold of 6.0 of the 6th level of key training. The life and death fight of the soul is really the best way to improve the soul essence. Chen Mo praised secretly. This is like a zero-sum game, where the winner takes all. The loser's soul can be completely absorbed. According to the strength of the digestive ability, the loser's memory can be extracted, and his soul can be used as the nutrient to improve his own soul. Although the soul devours each other, it is dangerous, but the benefits are extremely high. However, Chen Mo did not dare to use it as a shortcut to quickly improve his soul. The risk factor is too high. If the chip had not discovered the mental flaw of the evil spirit Zhang Wen in time, he would have become a fish on the chopping board. Only looking at the results and analyzing the gains and losses, if it were not for Zhou Fangyan's act of letting the wolf into the house, how could he have had this opportunity to improve his soul? What's more, Zhou Fangyan also promised to use his life savings in exchange for Chen Mo's forgiveness. Although he could not save many spirit stones with his position as the dormitory manager of the guroom, he was full of apology. I took money from others and took care of their affairs. Let me send Brother Zhou off on his last journey. Chen Mo sighed and pushed open Zhou Fangyan's dormitory room, which was right next to the stone door at the entrance to the gu room. Inside stood a creature that Chen Mo had never expected, the stone monkey, the guardian spirit beast. It did not reveal its true form, but remained half a person's height. The single eye on its forehead opened as big as a copper bell, emitting a black light, scanning Zhou Fangyan from head to toe. Seeing Chen Mo push the door open, it gave the diagnosis of the disease: your brother is a lucky one. Although his soul source is damaged and he can't even maintain his 6th level of key training, he has saved his life. When he wakes up, let him resign from the position of dormitory manager of the gu room and go to the secular world or the ancient city to live out his life. Chen Mo thought that Zhou Fangyan had let the wolf into the room, which was considered dereliction of duty, and opened his mouth to plead for him, but the stone monkey spoke first, blocking Chen Mo's words. This is not a punishment, it's a suggestion. His sea of consciousness has been severely damaged, and he can't control his ki yuan. For a practitioner, it's like a leaky barrel. No matter how talented he is in ki training, he can't stop ki yuan from escaping from his sea of ki. After saying that, the stone monkey spat out a square round plate with saliva on it. Looking at its style, it was exactly the same as the spirit summoning array in Zhou Fangyan's hand before, except that it lacked a pointer made of yin crystal. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. I just checked, the soul summoning formation can still be used. From now on, all the defenses of the guroom will be in charge of you alone. Don't be like this kid and take the initiative to withdraw the protective power of the formation and let the evil spirits in. Before escaping through the earth, the stone monkey used his spiritual energy to draw a simple map and explained to Chen Mo, I am responsible for the sect's outer defense. I rushed over when I sensed something abnormal in the guroom's formation. I followed a breath of the evil spirits that attacked you and found a secret corridor that sneaked here from the underground world. A protective formation has been set up for cultivators in the magical power period. According to the sect's regulations on the development of the underground world, except for me, you are the first discoverer and enjoy a 3-month development protection period. I took advantage of the gap in the formation to go deeper for a distance and found quite a few spiritual materials suitable for the key training period. This undeveloped virgin land has relatively rich resources. You can make a fortune before it is open to all disciples in the sect. Chen Mo was shocked when he heard this. In less than an instant of time when his soul was trapped in the illusion, the stone monkey had already found out so much information. The cultivation of the supernatural power stage was indeed unfathomable. Thank you for your reminder, Senior Shi. I am very grateful. The stone monkey stomped his right foot on the ground and disappeared. Chen Mo did not have time to thank it in person, but he showed all the respect he should have. This kind of superficial effort without spending any money was done very well by Chen Mo. Eye contact, good relationship, and favorability are cultivated from these details. Chen Mo believed that the reason why the stone monkey did not take this secret passage but gave the benefits to him was because he had behaved respectfully, called sweetly, and said nice things in the previous few times of getting along. It was normal for the stone monkey to leave the spiritual material resource point of the key training stage that he despised for himself. Supernatural power stage boss, Big Thigh. If you don't want to eat the scraps, just give them to me. The unique spiritual materials of the underground cave world are waiting for my plunder. Chapter 94 Zhou Fangging's injury. Having picked up the good stuff for free, although he hadn't eaten it yet, Chen Mo's thoughts began to drift away. He thought of the underground cave world, which was full of dangers but opportunities. The closer to the surface, the more common the spiritual materials grown in the underground cave world, and the more ruthless it was plundered by the disciples of the Blood Robe sect. Therefore, near the hundreds of entrances to the underground cave world that were discovered, even the grass was overturned by the locust-like disciples of the demon sect. If Chen Mo didn't go deep into it, there was only one word to say: difficult if you wanted to have a big harvest. The new corridor and the new entrance symbolized a virgin land that had not been plundered by the locusts of the demon sect. In an area not far from the entrance, carefully scraping the land, the harvest would not be less than the revenue of the Gurum breeding farm for 2 or 3 months. Chen Mo was so happy that he didn't even notice that the unconscious Zhou Fangging woke up leisurely. Brother Chen, what's wrong with you? Don't just keep smiling and scare me. If your head is really injured by an evil spirit, wouldn't it be a waste of my efforts to protect you from disasters? Seeing Chen Mo's wondering eyes and his thoughts drifting to who knows where, Zhou Fangging, who had just woken up, misunderstood. Not even able to take care of his own injuries, Zhou Fangging endured the discomfort of his soul and said to Chen Mo with concern, Alice, I am Zhou Fangging, a decent person. Although I am a descendant of the demon sect, I have a set of principles of behavior that are worthy of the conscience of heaven and earth. How could I be so confused for a moment and attract an evil spirit to harm you? With a frown on his face and lamenting repeatedly, Zhou Fangging even began to think about how to spend all his money to heal Chen Mo's soul injury. Brother Zhou, I'm fine. It's just that Senior Stone Monkey came just now and left some words for you and me, so I was distracted for a moment. Chen Mo shook his head, denying Zhou Fangging's guess. However, his thoughts were interrupted by this earnest concern, and he turned to examine Zhou Fangging's injuries. Ling. Zhou Fangging, 6th level of Key Training, Jing Yuan. 5.3, Qi Yuan. 6.5, Shen Yuan. 0.4, 6.9, Status, the origin of the soul is damaged, Shen Yuan has dropped to the level of mortals, Qi Yuan is fading, within 5 years, the consciousness will be annihilated, the cultivation level has dropped to the 3rd level of Key Training, and the hope of recovery is slim. Recommended treatment plan: take a 1,000-year-old jade snow lotus every day, and take a medicinal bath in Yuden ginseng juice for 2.5 hours, which lasts for 1 month. After converting the above spiritual materials to equivalent, this plan is expected to consume low-level spiritual stones starting from 10 tons. The cost is huge, and it is only for the host's reference. The chip database is rich in information. Compared with the stone monkey, it at least provides a plan to restore Zhou Fangging's cultivation level, but it consumes too many spiritual materials and spiritual stones. This heavy price is unbearable even for a cultivator in the supernatural power stage. This diagnosis has put a perfect end to Zhou Fangging's cultivation career. Alice, Senior Zhou, please accept my condolences for Jiang Wen's death. At the same time, Senior Shi suggested that you return home and stop asking about the affairs of the cultivation world before you leave. Senior Zhou was in a very bad state. The decline of his spirit and soul had already been reflected in his body. Not only were his eyes sunken and his face pale, but even his short black hair, which represented the fullness of his ki and blood, had turned gray. The hair branches were forked and dry. With a light grasp, they fell off in clumps. Among the 3 flowers of essence, ki, and spirit, only spirit can best represent the strength of a cultivator's life force field. If the power of the spirit and soul is strong and abundant, even if the body is destroyed, life can continue. just like Jiang Wen, who transformed himself into an evil spirit. Evil spirits are the way of the spirit and soul that has gone to the extreme. However, if one can maintain the spiritual wisdom, memory, and divine essence value of his life while becoming an evil spirit, he will be a so-called ghost cultivator. This kind of cultivation method of abandoning the body and focusing only on the soul is full of difficulties. If you are not careful, your soul will be scattered. Even in the blood robe sect, there are very few disciples who choose this path. However, the high combat power of ghost cultivators is obvious to all. They specialize in techniques that directly attack the soul, chasing souls thousands of miles away, demanding lives and dreams, and the technique of nightmare victory, are all insidious tricks that ordinary practitioners cannot defend against. Chen Mo gathered his divergent thoughts, but he didn't think about how to tell Zhou Fanggen the sad news that his cultivation was completely ruined. He tried several times, but he couldn't say it when the words came to his throat. Seeing Chen Mo's hesitation, Zhou Fanggen showed a self-deprecating smile and said freely, "Junior brother Chen, I guess my soul injury is incurable. You don't need to comfort me. I know the condition of my body. I have been in the demon sect for most of my life, so I still have some psychological endurance." Zhou Fanggen changed to a sprawling position and lay comfortably on the cold bluestone ground, like a fat salted fish that has lost its dreams. He waved his hands, let out a long breath, and sighed, "My cultivation is wasted, but senior brother doesn't care. The 6th level of key training is the ceiling of my qualifications. What I care about is junior brother Jiang." I thought that with the stabilizing effect of the meditation sutra on his soul, even if he can't become a ghost cultivator, he can retain a trace of clarity of his remaining soul. Chen Mo listened quietly to Zhou Fanggen's confession, as if to accompany him through this low point in his life, otherwise he would be embarrassed to take all his fortune. "I didn't expect that junior brother Jiang still failed and fell into an evil spirit, and there is no redemption. I stayed in the Gu room for so many years just to see him for the last time, but I didn't expect such a sad and lamentable ending." Zhou Fanggen's eyes were red when he was moved. He felt that he had wasted this time of waiting. Finally, he remembered his previous promise and whistled to summon his beloved ghost fire ant from outside the door. The latest novel is published on the 69th book bar. Although it is a beast, after raising it for decades, this ghost fire ant has developed a deep attachment to Zhou Fanggen. Seeing his pale cheeks, weak breath, and bloated body, it neighed sadly. Zhou Fanggen raised his right hand with great effort, gently stroking the rough and warm shell of the ghost fire ant, and recalled, "This ghost fire ant was carefully selected by junior brother Jiang and given to me. Its strong physique is the best among its kind. During the insect plague disaster, it didn't even get a single scarlet spot, and it survived tenaciously among the dead bodies of plague insects." He patted the ghost fire ant's belly, and it reluctantly spit out 10 intermediate-level fire spirit stones one by one. As soon as it spit out the inventory, its belly shrank, and the spirit of the ghost fire ant became sluggish, and the smell of fireworks in its mouth and nose dimmed a lot. This method of breeding ghost fire ants is too rough. Unless the gastrointestinal function of the insect that swallows the spirit stone is excellent, it will suffer from gastric perforation. It is not recommended that the host follow suit. Zhou Fanggen stood up unsteadily, pushed the 10 spirit stones on the ground to Chen Mo, and said, "Senior brother is not wealthy, and this is all I have. I apologize. Junior brother Chen, please don't despise it. By the way, putting the fire spirit stone in the stomach of the ghost fire ant can warm its internal organs. The effect is good. I suggest that you try it." Chapter 95 Farewell. Chen Mo smiled. With this method of cultivation, only the wide and fat ghost fire ant in front of him could survive. If it were other insects, they would die one after another. From a small glimpse, with the level of insect cultivation you and Jiang Wen have, it is inevitable that you will encounter an insect plague and go bankrupt. Secretly complaining, with a smile on his face, Chen Mo reached out and honestly took the spiritual stone that was still stained with insect fluid, wiped it carefully, and put it in his pocket. "I have fulfilled my wish for junior brother Jiang's matter. Junior brother Chen, let's say goodbye here. Let me return to the secular world and live out the rest of my life." Zhou Fanggen's expression was very calm. He recovered from the successive blows of Jiang Wen turning into an evil spirit and his own soul being greatly damaged. He sighed deeply and tried to climb onto the ghost fire ant, letting it carry him out of the Gu room. Taking out the Gu room token that symbolized the identity of the demon sect disciple, Zhao Chengjue forced out a drop of blood from the tip of his tongue and smeared it on a mechanism on the back of the token. The blood was so bright that the token was torn into pieces, and the parts fell to the ground with a clang, representing another demon cub's retirement. The Blood Robe sect has always been resolute and swift in its actions. There is no need to go through the procedures for withdrawing from the sect. You can even throw away the identity token and never enter the demon sect again. However, if you still stay in the mountain gate after the identity token expires, the stone monkeys who often come out to patrol the mountain will kill you directly without any reason. As for holding a practice party before leaving, and drinking with fellow disciples, it is even more unnecessary. In the demon sect, people are indifferent. Even the direct descendants of the same branch of the sect are fighting openly and secretly. There are not many people who are so close to each other that they come to see each other off. Zhao Chengjue is a senior in her sect. Those who know him either died in failure when breaking through the realm or disappeared while going out for training. The rest have returned to the secular world early in despair. Therefore, he simply said goodbye to Chen Mo and rode away on the ghost fire ant. The stone monkey also completed the aftermath of today's evil spirit attack, so when Zhao Chengjue left, he was relaxed and waved his sleeves without taking a cloud with him. Brother Chen, don't think about it. I'm just a waste of my cultivation. I still have decades to go before I die. If you are interested, you can come to the ancient city's abode to talk with me by candlelight at night. Waving his hand, indicating that Chen Mo didn't need to see him off for 10 miles and say goodbye one by one, Zhao Chengjue left his last blessing. The immortal road is long, Brother Chen, take your time. Another cultivator was sent away. Unlike Su Jin's death, Zhao Chengjue wish was fulfilled and he retired peacefully. He could be considered to have a good end, but in Chen Mo's eyes, he was just a pile of bones on the immortal road. There was not much difference between the two. Practice and strive for it, and it is a ray of hope for longevity. If you still think of returning to the secular world and becoming a rich man, how can you have the heart to pursue immortality and Taoism? We don't want it. Chen Mo looked at Zhao Chengjue departing back, and his Taoism heart became more tenacious. Taking him as an example, he wanted to climb to a higher peak of practice. First, complete a small goal and try to break through the supernatural power stage. With the help of the chip, Chen Mo's small goals are the ultimate goals that ordinary key training peers pursue throughout their lives, but he thinks it is natural and has no pressure to practice. In just less than a year, Chen Mo saw Zhao Chengjue leave the immortal path alive and Su Jin die on the immortal path, two endings that almost cover all the endings of practitioners. The losers are vivid and memorable. Chen Mo does not want to follow in their footsteps. After cutting off the distracting thoughts in his heart, he races against time to devote himself to practice. It is recommended that the host stay in the Gu room before the evil spirit Gu enters the mature stage, and do not purchase ghost fire ant larvae or explore the newly discovered underground cave world passage, leaving Gu's eye with the impression of an obedient disciple who is focused on work. A schedule appeared in front of him. This is the chip's most stringent time management for Chen Mo based on the 4-quadrant rule. The important and urgent matters marked in red are occupied by Gu's eye's tasks, while the expansion of the Gu room breeding farm and the exploration of the underground cave world are classified as important but not urgent matters. Is there enough time? That passage has only a 3-month priority exploration protection period. There is more than enough time. After the reasonable arrangement of the chip, the host can easily achieve the achievement of a time assassin and become a time management life mentor. Chen Mo breathed a sigh of relief and felt at ease. As a practitioner of the Star of Destiny, all cultivation resources can only be relied on by himself. Therefore, unless it is absolutely necessary, he does not want to give up all opportunities to scrape the ground. He is considered the most vicious demon gate locust. Okay, then make an appointment with the Gu's eye in advance for the time to deliver the evil spirit Gu. As a cultivator in the supernatural power period, the lifespan can reach 500 years. An ordinary retreat of 10 or 8 years is just a drizzle. Therefore, Chen Mo must inform Gu's eye in advance, otherwise, he will forget and make him wait for 10 years in vain. This evil spirit Gu separated from its offspring will probably be reduced to ashes. Generally speaking, after the offspring is separated, the mother evil spirit Gu will die immediately because it has given all its life force to its offspring. However, Chen Mo used reasonable treatment methods and abundant resources to extend the life of the mother evil spirit Gu for several months, and the task of ripening it to maturity can also be achieved, which is considered to kill two birds with one stone. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Therefore, it is necessary to calculate the time for the delivery of the evil spirit Gu, so as not to work in vain. Junior sister Lu, is Uncle Gu here? Please tell me that the evil spirit Gu will reach maturity in 1 month and complete the task perfectly. He tore open another communication talisman, and in front of Chen Mo, the image of Lu's Henner's training room appeared, but the expected cold-faced image of the junior sister was replaced by a cluster of ghost fire. The gray-red flames flickered slightly, occupying most of the imaging screen, and the cold voice of the devil Guzai came out from it. Well done, in just a few days, the evil spirit Gu has improved. I will let Zhenner communicate with you about the matters related to becoming a disciple and handing over the evil spirit Gu. No one knew how Guzai practiced, but he always showed himself as a cluster of ghost fire. It was also unknown whether this was the effect simulated by the magic, or whether his physical body had been distorted, making him neither human nor ghost. As soon as the voice fell, Guzai cut off the communication at the other end, not giving Lu's Henner a chance to show her face. He is a ruthless man who doesn't talk much and is very straightforward. He is indeed a demon. Chen Mo's eyelids jumped, but he did not feel much fear of Guzai. It is normal to meet such a cold-hearted master in the demon sect. Just don't forget to give yourself spiritual stones regularly. Ling. Analyzing the rumors about Guzai and the host's 2 meetings with him, a character personality model was established. The completeness is only 23%. The conclusion is, it is extremely difficult to guess the preferences of this demon. It is recommended that the host talk less, do more, and be an obedient and good apprentice. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, Meeting Guxi. Including today's conversation, Chen Mo only met Guzai once when the giant ship across the sea was attacked by Guzai. In terms of understanding this demon, Chen Mo's intuitive judgment is naturally not as good as the big data analysis of the chip. Therefore, he did not think about how to please Guzai, and honestly kept the remaining communication talismans. He did not plan to report to him regularly on the growth of the evil spirit Gu to show his presence. Perhaps, in the eyes of this demon, the so-called commitment to become a disciple is just a carrot hanging in front of me, so that I can cultivate the evil spirit Gu more wholeheartedly for him. Guzai's concise instructions, Chen Mo tasted a hint of deep meaning from it. He doesn't care about my cultivation talent at all, but my breeding talent. Accepting me as a disciple is just a disciple serving his work when there is something to do. Thinking of this, Chen Mo had a rough framework of what he should and should not do, and he stopped thinking about it and cultivated the evil spirit Gu with peace of mind. Even in the future, although I have a big backer in the Blood Robe sect, once I leave the mountain gate, I have to be careful of the righteous cultivator's demon slaying. Chen Mo sighed, and he remembered the fierce power of Guzai when he attacked the cross-sea giant ship, the giant bone arm stretched out from the ghost fire. If Yan Qingyi hadn't used the seal, I'm afraid it would be difficult to escape the tragic end of the ship being destroyed and the people dead. However, Yan Qingyi was able to escape from Guzai with his key training stage and the cross-sea giant ship, all thanks to the power of the seal. And Talia Giantke, he can't attack me, but I have to be careful of the cultivators who want to curry favor with him. He seems to have a close relationship with Yan Qingyi, otherwise he would not have given the seal. While enjoying Guzai's protection, I have to take over his blood debt. Chen Mo murmured the word seal, and didn't know what kind of magic weapon it was. Even the chip couldn't find the corresponding information from the database. As for who Tanya Jianqui is, I don't know. I can only judge from his name that he is a member of the Tanya Jianmen, a righteous person, and follows the path of sword cultivation. Ling. All the classics in the Sutra library do not record any words about the secret techniques, cultivation experience, and anecdotes of those above the supernatural power stage. It should be a secret of the sect. It is speculated that Tanya Jianqui is in existence above the supernatural power stage, otherwise it would be impossible for him to defeat Guzai, who is in the late supernatural power stage, with a seal without showing up. He was shocked. On the road to immortality, there are always people and mountains. Chen Mo made up his mind to be a low-key demon cub. In the sect, he always talked about Guzai's direct descendant, and when he went out, he did not mention his identity at all. Those who can make enemies with Guzai must be at the same level or even higher. Chen Mo did not want to be chased by a supernatural power cultivator for thousands of miles. The only three-dimensional data of a supernatural power cultivator collected by the chip came from the stone monkey, the guardian spirit beast. Even with its physical strength, it could beat Chen Mo into pulp. This simple and rough crushing made him feel awe for the supernatural power cultivators and behave himself. Time flies. 1 month later, Chen Mo used the cold jade box to hold the mature evil spirit Gu, and waited outside the cave of Guxi with a serious face. In front of him was the trunk of a giant ancient tree covering an area of dozens of acres. The rough old bark could not be damaged even if it was chopped with a sword. Its species was a spiritual energy plant, which was transformed by the cultivators who infused spiritual energy day and night. It only had the advantage of being huge in size. Digging a cave in the trunk was a popular cave style. It was the door opened on the trunk. Chen Mo stared and searched for a long time, but did not find any trace. The chip did not detect any spiritual fluctuations from the operation of the formation, which made him admire Guzai's means of building the cave. This was the first time he stepped into the dozens of miles of spiritual veins where the mountain gate was located. Even without the spiritual nodes in the mountains, Chen Mo could feel the dilation of his body pores. The spiritual factors of various attributes in the air naturally opened these pores. If there was no yin spiritual energy in it, as long as Chen Mo moved his mind, he could practice Qi and condense Qi Yuan. Even those with mixed spiritual veins can get a lot of benefits from practicing here every day. It's a pity that there is no yin spiritual energy here, otherwise, I would have planned to practice in another place. Chen Mo's entry into the 6th level of Qi training is a foregone conclusion. He will enjoy the benefits of building a cave in the spiritual vein. He is no longer satisfied with the spiritual concentration of the Gu room. Not knowing when the cave will be opened, and even Guzai may be spying on the every move of quasi-disciple Chen Mo with magic, Chen Mo dare not look around, and can only pass the time with rich psychological activities. Having stood outside the door for 3 hours, Chen Mo's Qi cultivation skills were pretty good, but he was going crazy from being in a daze. Just as he was thinking about it, the tree trunk in front of him suddenly blurred, forming a huge human face. From the mouth that seemed to be shouting, the pretty figure of Lu Zhen'er walked out. "Brother Chen, you don't have to be so nervous, and you don't have to stand outside all the time. Find a cool place and take a rest." Lu Zhen'er took the blame for Guzai and said, "It's my fault. I didn't expect that Master would be sick and couldn't see anyone. I made you wait here for a long time. I'm sorry, but now Master is back to normal. Please come in and have a chat." The latest novels are first published on Liuji 9 Shuba. When Chen Mo passed by, Lu Zhen'er said one more thing, which calmed his restless heart. Every time Master has a good old habit, there is a period of time when he is the most approachable and speaks the most gently. If you want any reward, you can take this opportunity to ask for it. Thank you for your reminder. Chen Mo nodded and thanked him. Sure enough, after spending more time with Guzai, no matter how fickle the devil's temperament was, people could figure out his habits. Lu Zhen'er still looked cold, and Chen Mo's thanks did not change her expression at all. She secretly complained, "I don't know how she practiced her Qi nourishing skills. She is not happy with things or sad with herself. She is really the best character to serve Guzai, the devil." Chen Mo also thought of Lu Zhen'er's family ancestor, who was killed by Guzai. I don't know what she feels when facing this enemy master every day. Perhaps, her Qi nourishing skills are practiced by facing Guzai every day. While thinking wildly, Chen Mo stepped into the trunk of the ancient tree. Ripples appeared in the void, and Chen Mo felt a chill all over his body, and he came to a dark space. The dense yin spiritual energy around him was like crazy, desperately drilling into him. After a while, his Qi felt full. "You are here. This cave is not bad. With the help of the thick roots of this spiritual energy plant, I can absorb the yin spiritual energy from the depths of the spiritual veins and gather it into the trunk. In terms of the concentration of yin spiritual energy, it is only slightly worse than the yin spirit spring." A relatively kind voice sounded, and a cluster of ghost fires appeared in front of Chen Mo. Chapter 97, Delicious Food for the Master's Enjoyment. My cave is full of yin spirit energy. As a yin spirit vein practitioner, you should feel good, right? If you like, you can choose a quiet room to settle down. The conditions are much better than the underground Gu room. Guzai gave Chen Mo a very tempting apprenticeship gift. As a high-ranking member of the sect, The cave he enjoyed was specially made, and naturally far better than the mud caves dug by ordinary inner disciples in the spirit veins. Every brick and tile, every bottle and can here were carefully polished by the mountain opening puppet, and the whole cave was engraved with the spirit gathering array by the array master, so Guzai didn't need to pay for it out of his own pocket. The sect used the public account, and the spiritual materials for construction were naturally selected to be good and expensive. No one dared to embezzle the money for the cave construction of Guzai, the big devil. Chen Mo had too many secrets, and he settled down right under Guzai's nose. It was only a matter of time before he discovered the clues. He was flattered and shook his head repeatedly, saying, "How can I, a disciple, dare to settle down in Master's cave? The goo room is pretty good, and I have to pay attention to the growth of the breeding insects and animals from time to serve Master, so it's better not to move." Seeing that Guzai's attitude was very kind, Chen Mo boldly called Master in advance to get closer to him, and at the same time respectfully handed over the cold jade box containing the evil spirit goo. This was the key to determining whether he would succeed in becoming a disciple. If Guzai was not satisfied with the inspection, not only would he have to take back the Master, but Guzai would also be angry and might even reward Chen Mo with a ball of ghost fire, turning his body into ashes. Yes, this appearance, this color, this vitality, good, Chen Mo, from today on, you are my disciple. You must not let down the reputation of the Goo Grass lineage, both inside and outside the sect. If you can't make the list of the righteous demon sons, I will only blame you. Guzai was in high spirits and rarely made a joke. You know, in the eyes of the demon sect disciples, the bounty orders of the demon son demon leader devil woman list are just a piece of waste paper that is not dirty to wipe the butt. What would it look like if the level of demon was to be judged by others? No one would accept it. The demon who acted flamboyantly met on a narrow road. Whoever had the bigger fist was the more evil demon. Why did they need a list to distinguish the level? Like an old gourmet seeing fine wine and delicious food, Guzai, who had turned into a ball of ghost fire, separated a cluster of flames and wrapped the cold jade box, as if tasting the evil spirit goo sealed in it. Although Guzai had no human expressions and movements, Chen Mo could feel his obsession with the evil spirit goo, and he was caressing the body of the evil spirit goo with his ghost fire body. Overjoyed, Guzai did not care about Chen Mo's presence, and directly opened the lid of the cold jade box and took out the evil spirit goo. Awakening from the ice. This time, the mature evil spirit goo has reached the end of its life. Even if Chen Mo feeds it with a large amount of resources, it cannot make up for the huge amount of vitality consumed in the 2 stages of rapid maturity and splitting. As a spiritual creature, the evil spirit goo also knows that its lifespan will end after waking up, but it is unwilling to become Guzai's food and add bricks and tiles to his cultivation. With an angry hiss, the evil spirit goo shook its transparent wings violently, and because of the excessive frequency, black smoke and sparks appeared on its body. Master, this is bad. It's going to self-ignite and kill itself. The medicinal properties of a dead evil spirit goo are only 1/10 of what they used to be. Hurry. Before Chen Mo finished reminding him, Guzai snorted coldly. The flames of the ghost fire jumped violently. With a light roll, he absorbed all the sparks that had just risen from the body of the evil spirit goo. I have played with fire all my life. How can I let a little bug like you do? Obediently accept your fate and suffer less physical pain. Guzai was reluctant to swallow the precious evil spirit goo in one gulp, as if it were a rare delicacy. Strands of fire separated from the ghost fire, cutting the evil spirit goo into 17 or 18 pieces according to its body parts, including wings, forelimbs, and hind limbs. Guzai was already in the form of a ghost fire, a cluster of jumping flames, but he turned into a bloody mouth. The sharp teeth were clearly visible, and a scarlet flesh tongue covered with the barbs stretched out from it, sinfully reaching out to the evil spirit goo's transparent jade-like wings. To taste delicious food, we should start with the most delicious wings. Guzai chuckled, not looking anxious at all. The fire line used to cut the evil spirit goo has the magical ability to keep it alive. Even if the evil spirit goo is cut into small pieces, it still keeps it alive. It seems that Guzai thinks that eating it alive is more delicious than roasting it. The tongue gently touched the wings of the evil spirit goo. This body part turned into a rich gray stream of light and was absorbed by Guzai, leaving no chance for Chen Mo to take a sip and pick up some scraps. The evil spirit goo has the magical effect of nourishing the soul. According to the calculation of the chip, if Chen Mo gets 10% of the transformed stream of light, he can increase his divine essence by 1-3, greatly shortening the time it takes for him to reach the 6th level of key training. Unfortunately, the evil spirit Gu that Chen Mo cultivated by himself made wedding clothes for others in vain, and now he can only drool beside and watch Gu's eye enjoy the food. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Fortunately, I still have a sub-body in my hand, and the cost of cultivation is paid by Gu's eye, otherwise wouldn't it be working for him in vain? Chen Mo was very sad watching from the side. But when he thought of the evil spirit Gu's sub-body thriving in the Gu room, the sourness in his heart was diluted by half. According to the chip's suggestion, this evil spirit Gu is the key to Chen Mo's advancement to the magical power stage. Gu's eye, who swallowed the flowing light and turned into a ghost fire, trembled for 100 breaths as if struck by lightning, and then stabilized, but the gray-red color of the flame became deeper in a way visible to the naked eye. Chen Mo only looked at it for 3 more seconds, and felt dizzy. The host is disturbed by the force field around Gu's eye, the spirit value is reduced, and the spirit begins to fatigue. If this continues, the spirit and soul will be damaged. It is recommended that the host immediately look away and stay away from Gu's eye for more than 1,000 meters. Chen Mo reacted as soon as the chip reminded him. Resisting the temptation of the will-o'-the-wisp flame, he looked away and looked at an unknown biological sample placed on the ground. The scarlet blood after it was dissected stimulated his spirit. Chen Mo's mind cleared and he recovered from the dizziness. He didn't care that Gu's eye was beside him. He gasped and touched his back with his hand. It was full of sweat. The density of sweat was soaked through the shroud wrapped around Chen Mo, and even left a large pool of water stains on the outermost gray robe. Seeing Chen Mo recover from the dizziness so quickly, Gu's eye exclaimed, "Hey, you already have spiritual consciousness, no wonder you recovered so quickly. It's only been less than a year since you started. With such talent, you are worthy of being my disciple." Chapter 98, Apprenticeship Ceremony. Gu's eye realized the terrible killing power of his own breath that he accidentally released, and quickly calmed his mind and stopped being excited. The strength of the force field around Gu's eye detected by the chip also dropped to the freezing point, and Chen Mo finally dared to look up at him again. At the same time, Gu's eye's scarlet tongue did not stop tasting the food. It twisted in the air like a water snake, and the blood vessels on the surface were translucent gray, exactly the same color as the wings of the evil spirit Gu. Gu's eye was reluctant to digest the essence of the evil spirit Gu immediately, and was still savoring the ecstasy taste repeatedly. The fluctuation of my soul just now will not leave you with hidden injuries. Here, this is a small gift from my teacher. Take it and leave. There was still more than half of the evil spirit Gu to taste, and Gu's eye did not want to miss the taste of the soul's pleasure, so he did not intend to suppress the fluctuation of his soul. In order not to hurt Chen Mo, Gu's eye spit out a storage bag from his mouth, which fell accurately into Chen Mo's hand, and let him leave. Chen Mo was so happy that he didn't have to stand aside and watch Gu's eye enjoying the evil spirit Gu with a smile on his face and a jealous heart. He bowed respectfully, took 3 steps back, and then turned his back to Gu's eye and left the cave. This close contact with Gu's eye made Chen Mo personally feel the huge gap between the key training practitioners and the supernatural power cultivators. The latter's careless soul fluctuations could make people dizzy and temporarily lose their combat capabilities. This kind of range-killing effect that is hard to defend against is really terrible. If the army of mortals and warriors surrounded Gu's eye, he only needed to get excited like this, and hundreds of people would fall to the ground like wheat being cut. This scene is too. With divergent thoughts, Chen Mo thought of the power of this indiscriminate range killing, and understood more clearly why the more powerful the cultivators, the more they had to live in seclusion. It was really that the supernatural power cultivators were not a life species of the same level as mortals and warriors. Just like an elephant passing by an anthill, a random kick can crush thousands of ants to death, and the former will not even notice the latter's death. Thinking deeper, how dense must the dragon energy net in Cayenne capital be, which Shiv and the supernatural power cultivators cannot conquer? Therefore, Chen Mo is more wary of this mortal court that has always stood firm. After leaving the cave, Chen Mo saw Lu's Henner still waiting outside, raised his new storage bag, and said with a smile, "Junior sister Lu, this time you and I have a closer relationship between senior brothers and sisters, you have to take care of me." Chen Mo is an in-house disciple, while Lu's Henner is only a nominal disciple. Calling them senior brothers and junior sisters is also a distinction between their status in the Gukeo lineage. As for the other two in-house disciples who entered the sect the earliest, they are not on the blood-clothes sect. Hello, Senior Brother Chen. I hope you will take care of me in the future. Liu Henner said a few polite words with an expressionless face. She did not introduce the specific situation of the Gu grass lineage to Chen Mo, and directly used the Sorn Cloud technique to leave the place. This girl, is she waiting outside the cave to collect my body? Chen Mo secretly complained. According to rumors, Gu Zai had indeed beaten and killed disciples who worked for him, non-registered disciples, non-in-house disciples. After the incident, he directly threw the poor creatures who were burned beyond recognition by the ghost fire next to the spiritual energy plant as nutrients for it to thrive. Such vicious incidents have occurred many times, but the sect only punished Gu Zai with a few spirit stones. None of the fellow disciples who were on good terms with those who did not do a good job dared to come to the gate of the cave to ask Gu Zai for an explanation. It can be seen that in the demon sect, the fist is the truth, and Gu Zai, his magic fist is not ordinary hard. The storage bag in his hand was as smooth as silk, and the fabric was covered with exquisite glutinous patterns. Just from the appearance, Chen Mo asserted that it was worth 3 mid-level spirit stones, which was many times more than the storage bag he won from Yu Chang's. This is not a daily necessity, but a luxury item. Although Gu Zai is cruel, his treatment of his disciples is beyond reproach. The sect tolerates Gu Zai's arbitrary beating and killing of disciples, and every year there are still a number of desperate people who accept the tasks issued by Gu Zai and intend to become his disciples. I think it is also influenced by the factor of excellent treatment. Chen Mo tossed the storage bag in his hand and couldn't help but think of these messy things. When he wiped the corner of his mouth, there was crystal saliva left, but he was subconsciously salivating for the good things in the storage bag. However, it was extremely rude to turn over the gift at the door of the master's cave, second only to doing it in front of Gu Zai, so Chen Mo suppressed the restlessness in his heart and returned to the Gu room. As soon as he stepped into the stone gate, Chen Mo could not wait to pour out all the things in his storage bag. Since Zhou Fangging resigned from the post of dormitory manager and left, the Gu room has become Chen Mo's private land to a certain extent. As long as the spirit summoning array is activated, this area can be blocked. Those who trespass will fall into an illusion, with a weak soul, unconsciousness, and at the mercy of others. As a favorite in front of Guxi, no inner and outer disciples dare to settle down in the Gu room and choose a stone room to be Chen Mo's neighbor. Therefore, in this private territory of the Gu room, Chen Mo acts recklessly and has no worries about exposing his wealth. Ding Ling Dang Lang, the latest novel, is first published on the 69th book bar. There were only 3 items: a blood-red token with the word evil engraved on it, a broken steel with countless inscriptions, and a wooden box containing a rice-sized Gu worm. Although the number was small, Chen Mo expected that they must be extremely precious, otherwise it would be a shame for Gu Zai's identity and status. No matter how poor you are, you can't let your apprentice down. If you want your apprentice to work hard, you have to let your apprentice eat well. As soon as the divine consciousness penetrated into the broken steel, the chip prompted data interface found, a large amount of data found, which may cause brain swelling. Please be mentally prepared. Chen Mo's face lit up, and the chip could actively warn, which shows how much information there is in the broken steel. On the road of cultivation, knowledge is wealth. Although in the Blood Robe sect, the Sutra Pavilion opened all the classics to the disciples for free, and the value of knowledge has been so low that it is not as cheap as a low-level spirit stone, the real secrets of cultivation are still in the hands of the top leaders and are not open to the public. Each branch of the Blood Robe sect has its own characteristics. Correspondingly, the leaders of each branch also hold magical skills and secret information that are only open to the direct descendants of this branch. Gu Zai is very powerful, so the things he has are naturally not bad. Ling. Data collection is complete, and transmission begins. Chen Mo's head seemed to be stuffed with a lot of glue, so heavy that he could hardly lift his head, and even the ability to issue instructions to the chip was temporarily lost. Ling. Please don't panic, host. This is the negative impact of data flow overload. Stay calm and it is expected to return to normal within 10 minutes. Chapter 99, Rise and Fall of Cordyceps. The chip's diagnosis made Chen Mo realize that learning too much knowledge can also cause a person's brain to crash. After this lesson, his head hurt badly. Next time, Chen Mo would never dare to let the chip transmit so much data in an instant just to be quick. In order to relieve the dizziness, Chen Mo waited for another 10 minutes before closing his eyes and carefully flipping through the various anecdotes, magic books, and secret news in his mind. The main text is a must-read for the direct disciples of the Blood Robe sect. The appendix is the core secret of the Gu grass lineage, which was refined by the 18th generation lineage master Guzai. Internal information must not be leaked. Violators will be cleared by Guzai himself. The first 2 lines of words made Chen Mo happy, and he realized that he was about to come into contact with the real secrets of the sect. Because the chip sorted and summarized this information and engraved it in Chen Mo's mind, he read it very quickly. Even reading thousands of lines at a glance is not enough to describe the speed at which he absorbs knowledge. In just a cup of tea, Chen Mo read all the beautiful articles, ancient secrets, and side-door mental methods. Opening his eyes, Chen Mo sighed, and his personal knowledge has been improved to a new level. He has always wondered that the records about the supernatural power stage in the Sutra library seemed to have been erased. Today, the broken steel given by Guzai answered this question. In the eyes of the sect's top leaders, the inner and outer disciples who have not joined the branch are nothing more than the cheapest labor and war cannon fodder. As the bottom, they don't need to know too much. The classics in the Sutra library are enough. It is more beneficial for the Blood Robe sect to be a little ignorant and stupid for the bottom disciples, and it is easier for the top leaders to manage. If they sit there daydreaming about becoming above the supernatural power stage all day, they will be too ambitious when practicing, and the probability of going astray will increase, and the harvest of the Blood Robe sect will be greatly reduced. But the sect favors the direct disciples of the branch lineage. They are all reserve cultivators of the supernatural power stage, 1 in 10 or 1 in 100. A small group of them will become the leaders of the lineage and form the backbone of the Blood Robe sect. Some things don't need to be hidden. Above the supernatural power stage is the condensation pill stage. In the Blood Robe sect, a great master who has lived for nearly 1,000 years has this level of cultivation. It is his existence that has forced hundreds of demons in the supernatural power stage to obey his orders and dare not easily break the sect and rebel. Otherwise, in the annual distribution of cultivation resources, these demons who do not obey each other will fight to the death and tear the Blood Robe sect apart. With a higher cultivation goal, Chen Mo stopped reading the rest of the content and let the chip record and archive it to enrich the database. The dry goods that moved him were still the secrets of the Gukeo lineage recorded in the appendix. Just like the word Guseo in its name, this unique secret technique passed down by Guzai can only be completed with the help of a gu and a grass. Implanting a gu and a grass, an insect beast, a spiritual plant, into the body of the practitioner forms a wonderful symbiosis and progresses together, until the practitioner encounters a bottleneck in practice, completely devours the two, and turns them into endless medicinal power to break through the realm in one fell swoop. Of course, it can also be used to burn blood and fight desperately, fake death to escape, and perform cross-level magic according to the actual situation. In short, the secret of the Gu grass lineage is a kind of external magic in auxiliary means. Therefore, Guzai has no desire to guide Chen Mo's main practice, the 9-yin forging pulse technique, and let him explore on his own. This way of raising apprentices is really worry-free and labor-saving. It seems that I can't ask Guzai about the obscure and difficult parts of the 9-yin forging pulse technique. He definitely doesn't have the leisure to read the technique and answer my questions. Chen Mo sighed and had a general understanding of the way he would get along with Guzai in the future. It was nothing more than a cultivation task issued by the chief master, and after completing it, he would exchange it for cultivation resources from him. It was just that due to the additional master-disciple relationship, the reward was richer than the task of the blood clothes building. In fact, the smartest way should be to switch to the main cultivation method of Guxi. In this way, since the two have similar talents and both have Yin Ling Mei, Chen Mo will have the opportunity to teach one-on-one, and the probability of breaking through the supernatural power stage can be increased even more. However, according to the analysis of the chip, only the 9-yin forging veins technique can allow Chen Mo to go further, so after careful consideration, he still did not want to change the cultivation method for the false name of Guxi True Transmission and a 100% success rate of advancing to the supernatural power stage. What if there is no experience of the predecessors? With the help of the chip, how much lower can my success rate of breaking through the realm be than the success rate of switching to the Guxi method? Chen Mo was very confident. The 9-yin forging veins technique, which no one has cultivated for 100 years, will end with him. Just like what the inscription on the broken steel says, a cultivator is a true practitioner, and the stage of supernatural power is precisely the first step of a cultivator's long journey to immortality. I must have a long-term vision and cannot be confined to a safe breakthrough of this stage of supernatural power. The latest novel is published on the 69th book bar. A cultivator in the stage of supernatural power is not the same species as a mortal or a warrior, but how can a cultivator and a person in the stage of key training be the same species? The 500 years of life of a cultivator alone makes the latter's short life of more than 100 years smaller. If a cultivator in the stage of supernatural power in the blood robe sect dies of old age, he can outlive 5 or 6 generations of inner and outer disciples. Therefore, the term key training was specially set up in the cultivation world to describe the huge gap between the stage of key training and the stage of supernatural power, not to mention the stage of condensing pills after the stage of supernatural power. In order to reach the Dan condensation stage, or even a higher level, Chen Mo decided to specialize in the 9-yin meridian forging technique. With a newly acquired secret technique and the goo worm rewarded by Guzai, Chen Mo couldn't wait to practice the secret of the goo grass lineage. If it is well fed, it can help me break through the important stage of the supernatural power stage. Ling. This goo worm is called Ronku cordyceps. The upper half of its body is a worm, and the lower half is a grass. It is the best symbiotic option for practicing the secret of the goo grass lineage. Because the goo grass and the worm are one, half of the resources and efforts can be saved, and the cost effectiveness is extremely high. After careful observation, Chen Mo couldn't help but sigh that nature is really full of wonders. The appearance of Ronku cordyceps can be called a strange flower. It is neither a worm nor a grass, but in between the two, like a worm and a grass. The upper body is white and chubby, without a mouth, nose, or eyes, which reminds Chen Mo of the little pet white maggot that Deacon Wei has always held in his mouth. He was so disgusted that he almost vomited. Period. The lower body looks like a ginseng root, with 10 branches in total, withered yellow in color and of varying lengths. However, looking at its surface, it seems to have densely packed suction cups, which probably means it has an extraordinary grip and can absorb oil from deep underground. Chapter 100, Master's motives are impure? The ritual of achieving symbiosis with Ronku cordyceps is very simple. Just cut off a piece of flesh from the left chest and place the roots of its lower body in it. At that time, Ronku cordyceps will actively extend its roots and pierce into the host's atrium. As long as Chen Mo does not resist during the entire symbiotic ritual, Ronku cordyceps will follow the flesh and blood and drill into the ventricle. From then on, every time the blood circulates, a part of the nutrients passing through the heart will be intercepted by Ronku cordyceps and turned into nutrients for its growth. Wait until the right time to kill the insects and take energy. At that moment, Chen Mo's cultivation must be at its peak. Ling. A secret formation was discovered in Ronku cordyceps, which is suspected to be a human work. The effect is unknown. The estimated analysis time: 12,784 minutes. Implanting Ronku cordyceps is an irreversible behavior. Please do not perform the symbiotic ritual immediately, so as to avoid it staying in the host's ventricle and parasitizing and drawing blood, causing negative effects. The prompt of the chip made Chen Mo stop the action of cutting flesh and planting insects, and his face became gloomy. Being in the demon sect, he never hesitated to speculate others with the greatest malice, even if the target was his own master. I'm afraid that this demon has left some secret door on the Ronku cordyceps to prevent me from deceiving my master and ancestors after I have achieved success in my cultivation, and can't wait to seize the throne and become the 19th leader of the goo grass lineage. With Chen Mo's imagination, he could only think of this level, so he had to reluctantly put the Ronku cordyceps back into the wooden box and wait for the chip to be analyzed clearly before making a decision. It took so long, and the upgraded chip needs to be analyzed for nearly 10 days. It seems that Guxi has high hopes for Ronku cordyceps. Chen Mo sighed and began to study the last reward. As soon as he touched the token, the Gurum token in Chen Mo's arms was pulled by the key and flew out on its own. The word evil on the blood red token suddenly flew out and was printed on the Gurum token. At the same time, the remaining part of it turned into blood light and also merged into the Gurum token, dyeing it with a layer of bright red. After the fusion was completed, the contribution point value displayed on the Gurum token had a string of zeros added to the original value, and an explanation was attached. This is Chen Mo's share of cultivation resources as a disciple of the goo grass lineage in the next year. As expected of the goo grass lineage, There are few people, abundant resources, and high efficiency. The contribution points will be credited to my account at the beginning of the year. With this contribution point, plus the income from the expanded Gurum breeding farm, it is enough to meet my daily cultivation needs. After a simple calculation, Chen Mo found that with his consumption level, this income was enough to cover his expenses. However, those elixirs that are effective in breaking through the bottleneck of the divine power stage and the magic tools, a higher level than the talisman tools, that can be used by the divine power stage cultivators, cannot be bought with low-level spirit stones alone, but must be exchanged with a large number of sect contribution points. These rare treasures are all controlled items and strategic materials of the sect, and need to be registered. Who uses, loses, or damages them, all kinds of situations must be recorded clearly. What's more difficult is that there are not enough materials to share with a huge number of cultivators in the supernatural power stage and the direct descendants of the branch lineage. Chen Mo's strength is only at the key training stage, and the speed of accumulating contribution points is very slow. He can only rely on Guzai to get them. For example, Rangku Cordyceps, this is the key to practicing the secret lineage of Gukeo. Even if you don't worship Guzai as a teacher, you can also exchange it from the Zuai sect. It's just that the contribution points consumed are an astronomical figure that Chen Mo can't afford. Internal price, it's really evil. Zuai building, this is how shamelessly exploits the low-level disciples of the inner and outer sects. Chen Mo was very critical of the sect's vampire-like exploitation of contribution points. If he hadn't worshipped Guzai, every time he earned contribution points, the sect would take them away by the reasonable and legal means of the Zuai building exchange system, and then transfer them to a direct descendant of a branch lineage. It's just working for others. This is the cruelty of the blood robe sect's raising and training method. It not only advocates the practice concept of plunder, killing, and fighting, but also makes the inner and outer disciples shed blood and sweat, and worship the branch lineage without knowing it. It can be said that the law of the jungle has been brought to the extreme. Therefore, inside the sect, every supernatural power cultivator is stepping on the blood and bones of countless fellow disciples, and even the remains of the branch lineage brothers. Fortunately, I stand on the side of the exploiters. Although there is a vicious Guzai wielding a sickle to harvest leeks above my head, he is not a glutton who eats alone, and he will reward me with some leek roots. At least he is in the middle of this interest chain, not as good as the top but better than the bottom. Chen Mo is in a good mood and can convince himself to serve Guzai. A communication talisman on his body lit up, and before it turned into ashes, it projected an image, which was a section of Guzai's instructions. Unlike the real-time call function of the communication talisman, the transmission talisman only has the function of leaving a message. If you wrap the talisman with spiritual energy when the transmission talisman lights up, you can also cut off the message, which is considered a rejection. Therefore, for just a photo, Chen Mo did not pretend to be a respectful obedient disciple. He leaned lazily on the trunk of a Yinling mulberry tree, picking his ears, and listened to Guzai's instructions. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. It's very tiring to pretend to be well-behaved and obedient. You still have to show your true nature from time to time. Face-to-face with Guzai, respecting the teacher is for survival. Now that conditions allow, Chen Mo naturally has to remove his disguise. Guzai's instructions are concise and to the point. He listed a long list of insect and beast names, indicating that Chen Mo should breed them on a large scale in the Gurum breeding farm, the more the better. When acquiring each insect beast, Guxi will give Chen Mo a 10% personal reward based on the average market price. With the cost reduction of the chip, I can at least make a net profit of more than 20%. This hard-earned money can still be earned. Chen Mo knew that there were few opportunities to make a big profit, like rescuing the evil spirit Gu. Guxi's contribution points were not blown by the wind, and it was impossible for him to be given away for free. If you want to accumulate enough resources to break through the 12th level of key training, you still need to work honestly for your master. Although it is hard, compared with other fellow disciples, Chen Mo accumulates spiritual materials much faster and there is not much danger. Breaking through the bottleneck of the supernatural power stage, the sooner the better. The younger, the more vigorous the vitality of the cultivator. Even if the first breakthrough to the supernatural power stage fails, you can recuperate before the age of 50 to get a second or even third chance to break through the bottleneck. In this way, the probability of success is greatly increased. The chip's suggestion is that Chen Mo should break through the supernatural power stage before the age of 20 and serve Guxi. This is a great help for him to achieve this goal. Naturally, he must seize it firmly and manage it carefully. It will be on the shelves at 12 o'clock on Friday, which is too sudden. The author will be fully committed to coding the VIP chapter tonight. Please vote and subscribe, book friends. Thank you. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.